There's no time.
The time is
13
o'clock.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we're an hour later.
Yeah. It's
We're
awful dark, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is. Let's try to get a little
Hold
bit
on,
better
hold
of
on,
a soft
hold on.
bounce.
Is that better?
Yeah, let me bounce this off of here.
And sorry about the wire, everybody.
Okay, try that.
I think that's as
That
bright.
looks a little better.
Is that as bright as it goes? That's as bright
Yeah,
as
that
it
looks a
goes.
little better.
And that's as warm as it goes, because
Alright.
there's a warm setting and a cool setting.
All right.
Yeah, DJ Maniac says, I'm in North America, I have to be up for work at 3:30 a.m. is all. Yeah, it's you know, we're kind of like, I don't know, we're kind of like experimenting with different times, because we just noticed over the past few weeks that starting at 5, we didn't get as many people,
Yeah.
and that sometimes when
Too
we start
early.
a little bit later...
Yeah.
But like I said, you know, everyone's in a different time zone, so it's really hard to kind of, you know, I get if you're in like the Eastern time
Right.
zone and you work like quote unquote regular hours, like you might be just commuting home at 5 o'clock and you can't listen to it and blah blah blah. So I don't know, we're just kind of like farting around with it and trying to decide.
I was always of the mind that we every now and then ought to just do it at a crazy time so people on the other side of the planet can be in the live stream.
We have thought about doing that. I do
Yeah.
kind of feel like, I don't know, I feel like probably, maybe what we should do, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe we should decide on something, because I feel like maybe what we should do is maybe like for the regular show, you know, and maybe the sidetracks will have like a regular time, but
Yeah.
for like movie reviews and other stuff, maybe we could just come on whenever we feel like
Whenever, right.
it. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to make it too crazy, because then people will be like, oh, I never know when you guys are on.
Right.
But we could have a couple that are regular times, like that are always at the
Yeah.
same time, but then the rest of them we can just kind of like wing
Right.
it. And maybe sometimes even if we feel like it, like if we watch 2 movies, we could do 2 in a day or something like that. I don't know.
All right.
I don't want to like extend ourselves, because I feel like we're already on like 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And we have recorded stuff that goes on the other days, because we have something going up like every day, you
Yeah.
know, which is a lot.
So today's show is updates on cases that we've done in the past. New information has come out on some of them. Jenny has them compiled. I haven't seen what she's got today, but it's going to be a good show.
Yeah,
She always delivers.
we're basically doing it's like 3 or 4 missing persons cases that we talked about on prior shows that have either had updates or been solved recently, like since we've done them. And then there are like 2 unsolved murder cases, one of which I don't think we ever did a show about it, although I think we might have discussed it, or it might have been mentioned either in one of my books or we talked about it. I kind of feel like maybe we talked about it during one of like the Zodiac shows or something about Edward W. Edwards or something like that. Lover's Lane murders. So that, and then I'm going to talk about an unsolved murder case that I did write about in Faceless Villain 2 that was solved like just a few months ago, like through DNA. So, I mean, I'm keeping them brief. What I decided to do, we're going to do like, you know how the old Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack used to do?
Yeah.
And it's like they kind of re-show the old shit, and then I'm not going to do that, but like re-show the old shit, and then at the end they're like, update, you know what I mean? So I kind of wanted to do that. So I'm just going to like run through the details of the original case, so you don't have to go back and listen to the old episodes, because a lot of them are from a couple years ago, and then we'll just at the end we'll say like what the update is.
Okay.
So that's how we're gonna work it.
Yeah, people are damn piling in. Hugo says, Tom, you're 2 hours ahead of me. I don't mind. TB Drigger says it's damn too early, man. Okay.
Too early. I mean, I don't know.
Fox Obsidian said I'm good either way. I'm a second shifter, so I listened while I'm at work. Okay.
Oh, okay, so I mean,
That
like
was one of the original ideas behind the show, is that it was just regular listeners as friends and shit to listen to it while you're working or driving, you know. That was the idea.
Well, I mean, that's what I do. Like when I'm, if I have, graphic design work or something to do, like on my laptop, I'll usually put on my other computer. I'll just put on like YouTube videos, like scary stories or true crime shit or something like that I can like listen to in the background.
Yeah, and I gotta have something on. I gotta be listening to stuff to fall asleep. I'd fall asleep to a pro show like this.
Yeah. I can't fall asleep with noise going on. Not usually
noise.
Unless I'm exhausted.
I gotta have noise going. It
then
relaxes
I can't.
me.
I can't. I don't like having that.
I like to put science on, like
science.
Yeah, I love Event Horizon is real good, and what's his name, Michael Gaudier, like him. I'll listen to like Avi Loeb. He's talking about aliens. Some of this stuff I'll listen to it before I go to sleep, but I have no intention of falling asleep at the time. Like I'll listen to geopolitics, but I'm going to stay awake for that. But the science, I'll just fall asleep during that one, and then I get pissed that I fell asleep. I got to go back and start it where I started.
Yeah, but you go back and listen to it.
Yeah, you started.
Well, last night weren't you listening to? Did you start listening to that?
Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, because we were talking about. I added that to the poll.
Yeah.
We're
going to talk about that.
We'll see how that goes, because one idea that we had that he just brought up last night, and I said, that would probably make a really good show. So I put it in the Patreon poll for next week, was the real story behind the Phantom of the Opera novel, the Gaston Leroux novel.
Yeah.
Because apparently it's sort of kind of based on a true story, maybe, and I kind of wanted to look into that. So there was actually, you said you looked on YouTube because you said you wanted to reread the novel, and on YouTube there's an audiobook done by Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, if that gets picked, I'm totally listening to that.
The thing is, though,
I'll listen to it
is
anyway.
that the Christopher Lee audiobook does not include the prologue.
Oh, okay.
And
Well, you can listen to that somewhere else.
I listen to the prologue somewhere else, and I don't know how much of it, because if the book written completely from the front to the back is 9 hours, okay? The Christopher Lee one is only 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
So there's a bunch missing.
So it's...
All right. I read the book and read the prologue and everything. And in the prologue, Gaston fucking swears up and down that the story's true, and he tells about his investigation before he wrote the book to find out the truth about the legend. And he describe and what he says is a reality. That it has been confirmed. That opera theater did burn down on the date in question. Underneath it, there was an underground lake that had an island on it. Evidently, bodies were found there, according to Gaston, that he found them, along with some investigators that went down there. He swore on his deathbed that it was a true story. And he tells where he got the information. He went through the archives. This case was already 40 years old when he got into it, or 30, or I think 20 years is what he said. It was 20 years old when he investigated it. A lot of the witnesses were dead, but he did find some of them. And one guy had letters from Eric, the guy who was Phantom. He had the letters that he was writing to her, and letters that she was writing to him. And the old stage manager still had them. And he thought that Gaston claims that he thought that it might have been bullshit, but then he found the woman in question, some of her letters, and he confirmed that the handwriting was the same, that he couldn't have forged them. Reading the book, he is describing to the T a serial killer. All right, this is long before profiling. He describes this serial killer having a disease. He didn't know the name of it, but when he described it, I remember seeing a disease like that from what I remember of his description. Okay, it's been a long... I'm rereading it again in audiobook, or I'm listening to it again in audiobook to see if my memory was accurate. But at the time, I remembered the description fitting a little kid that I knew in Dominguez Elementary School who had something wrong with him that looked like that. His head was kind of peanut-shaped, and his hair was falling out. And his fingernails were real thick. It was like crumbly foam. And his gums had pulled back, and his eyes were kind of pulled back. He did look like a skull. And he had something genetically wrong with him. And that's how this guy, he's called Eric in the book. That's how he was described. And he was a genius. He was a musical genius and an architect. And a torturer. He had been torturing for a living for some sultan over in the Middle East. He got amazingly rich, and he moved back to damn France, where he came from. He couldn't fit in society, and he used a bunch of lawyers to buy that opera house, and he built, I guess by himself, some kind of a mansion on that lake where he was living underneath it. And he was an architect, so he could do all this stuff. Kind of like H.H. Holmes.
Yeah, see, I thought that would be a good idea for a show.
Yeah.
So we'll see if it gets voted.
I'd always heard that it was fiction, but I believed what he said. It sounded very plausible, and this is written in like maybe 1909, around that time, and he's talking about the late 1800s, and he's talking about serial killers, and he profiles this serial killer in the book. I was like, man, this is just like how could he have guessed this? This sounds just like the real thing. And I was doing some more research a couple days ago, and it says right there on his Wikipedia of Gaston Leroux that he's on his deathbed. He swore that that was a true story and that he had done the investigation and that guy really existed. So we're going to look into it.
I mean, yeah. Like I said, I went in today, and I could, because if you're on our Patreon, which you should be, if you're not, shame on you. But yeah, I'm just kidding. I know some people can't afford it, but whatever. But if you're on there, you can vote on the topic for the following week's show, and you can also vote on the movie retrospective, like the movie that we talk about on the movie retrospective. You can always vote on those. And so I went in there. It's usually 5 choices that I just picked at random out of my, topic jar. And so that was one of the ones. And I think that I had already had the poll in there, but I went in there and replaced something else for it. So if you guys want that, then go vote for it, and we'll do it next week. DJ Maniac says there's a new Bauhaus single out today. See, I can't believe I didn't hear about that. I mean, I've been doing other shit today. I haven't really been keeping up with the news or anything. So, yeah, is it any good? Have you heard it? I wasn't a huge fan of their... I know they did that album, Go Away White. When was that? I kind of feel like that was... Shit, that was a long time ago now. 2011? Was it? 2012? Something like that. I can't remember. Maybe earlier. But yeah, they got back together and did that album, which was like, okay. It was like half good and half kind of, You know what I mean? But, a couple of songs on there were good. Actually, maybe it was older than that. Because you know what? Maybe it was even older than that, because didn't, like, that Heavy Metal 2000, didn't that have one of the songs that was on it, like, on that album? So maybe it was, like, 10 years older than I'm thinking it was.
I don't know.
This is what happens when you get old. Like, everything was like, it was just a few years ago. And they're like, no, that was actually 20 years ago. It's like that. He also...
Media sent us a $10 super chat. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah,
I got guys hoping to get the super chat bidding started tonight. Love the show. It's like hanging out with friends talking about crazy shit. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was the idea.
That's what we always wanted to do. Well, we can't really do anything else, because it's like, it's not like we're gonna come on and be like personalities or like play different roles or anything like that. We're just like being our stupid selves.
Yeah, we're not nothing scripted. Even though scripting is good too. Like Jenny today just sent me something. This came from Rob Levinson. Sent her a clip of fucking Razor Fists, who's a great channel. Razor Fist, dude's fucking hilarious. Okay, he's intelligent too, real intelligent. Razor Fist reviewing Malone,
which we reviewed, the Burt Reynolds movie, and it is
it's fucking hilarious.
It's
go check that shit out. I'm gonna go ahead and plug that show.
Well, yeah, right. Rob sent me the link, and he's like, "You guys have to watch this."
It's good.
And I was like, and it was only like 15 minutes, and I was like, "Okay," so I put it on like in the background, and I was like, within a minute, I was like fucking dying.
It's fucking hilarious.
Hysterical. Because we just watched that movie like last week.
He hit a lot of the same points we hit. He knows a lot of the but his was scripted and it got a really good edit.
Yeah.
So it's fucking hilarious. It's hilarious. We beat him to the punch because we can just fucking boom. We can cut a video in a day because none of our shit's scripted. So, but that must have been a week of fucking work to edit that bitch out. Now. But it's fucking hilarious.
I mean, there's something to be said for either, because I kind of like a combination, because sometimes I'll watch stuff that is like edited and scripted and written, and that's good too. Like if that person knows what they're doing, because that's really funny. Sometimes I like Nostalgia Critics stuff, even though, like I said, I don't usually like stuff that's real shouty.
Yeah.
But if it's really funny and well written and stuff like that, then I'll give it a pass. But On the other hand, I kind of like a lot of channels too that are just like this one, that are just kind of like people that are just kind of like hanging out in their room, like talking about a movie, and it's not like they have notes like to refer to, but it's not like written or anything. So I tend to gravitate more toward that because it seems more like a real person to me rather than like a personality.
I've kind of past couple weeks I've gained an appreciation for Burt Reynolds' work, you know, and him as a dude. He was good.
Burt Reynolds as a dude.
As a dude, yeah. When I was a teenager, Burt Reynolds, especially towards the late teens in the '80s, Burt Reynolds was kind of like it was dated. You know, that was like something your dad would watch. But it's kind of come back around in style. The shit that he's doing. Yeah, it's corny. Yeah, but it's also kind of cool. It's funny.
That's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's entertaining. The quality was pretty high, even the schlocky stuff is pretty good. Yeah, a lot better. You know, a lot better than other shit that's out.
I kind of like though that a lot of people now, like even younger people nowadays, are kind of like they get like the '80s shit. They're like, even if it's cheesy, they're like all the better. They're like, that's okay.
It was supposed to be cheesy.
That's what I mean. And it's like, and then they just like that anyway. And it's like, I just think that's kind of cool.
Look, man, bad Burt Reynolds is still a shit ton better than say like fucking bad Steven Seagal. It's a lot better than bad Steven Seagal.
I feel like the bad Steven Seagal... Well, now it depends, because sometimes the Steven Seagal ones are so hilarious that they're entertaining, but most of the time the Steven Seagal ones are just boring. With, like, a couple moments of, like, oh, look at that hilarious shit, where he's just, like, using a stuntman to, like, walk across the room. But then, like, the rest of it, you're just like...
Boring,
Yeah, it's like that. Like, he's just sitting around, like, mumbling at people.
Bad Burt Reynolds was still pretty good. Good Burt Reynolds was great. Real
like
good.
I said, if you're gonna make a movie and you can't be good, at least be entertaining.
Yeah.
Like just go whole hog with the stupid and the ridiculous and the outrageous. It will be a lot more fun and a lot more memorable for everyone involved. Don't try to be serious. Don't try to make it good if you don't think that you can make it good. Just make it like the silliest, stupidest thing ever, and it'll be magic.
Bad Burt Reynolds was still better than bad Charles Bronson. And bad Charles Bronson was still entertaining. Bad Charles Bronson wasn't terrible. But bad Charles Bronson was still better than bad Steven Seagal.
Well, like I said, the worst thing a movie can be is boring.
Yeah. And Burt Reynolds and Bronson were never boring.
Yeah.
You know, they were always, you could always watch the movie and go, okay, and get something out of it.
If it's not boring, then you've entertained me.
Right.
I mean, at least make me feel something.
Bad Seagal is boring.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why a lot of his movies are bad, because he thinks he's like super awesome and being all serious and everything, but mostly they're just dull and samey. You know, like I said, if you're gonna make a bad movie, just make some crazy shit.
Now there is some good bad Seagal that I've seen. Under Siege 2 is bad, but it's good. I watched it. I enjoyed the movie. The director of that movie was very proud of it. He was a guest on one of our friends' show. I don't remember which. Wasn't that who is it that had? Didn't Soraya have him on?
Oh yeah, he might. Well, did he?
I think.
I can't remember.
I think it was
Put me on the
Soraya
spot.
that had him on.
Yeah.
And he asked, he said, "Did you like Under Siege 2?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did. I did like Under Siege 2. It wasn't as good as Under Siege 1 in terms of like production quality and just you know, the casting. You know what I mean? Because they had Tommy Lee Jones in that motherfucker. And old crazy man just chewing up the fucking scenery in that movie. There was a lot of good.
Which chew it.
Just chewing the shit out of the fucking scenery. Under Siege 1, and then they had that little fucking penthouse, that little Playboy bunny chick with the boobs who's popping up out of the cake. She was cute too in the whole movie. So it was a good, entertaining movie. It was a knockoff of fucking Die Hard, and Seagal was putting out some of his best material. He was kind of credible at that point still, you know, with the limitations of the technology at the time, and we didn't have internet, so we really couldn't check up on the guy and find out if he was bullshitting or not. And a lot of people still believed his bullshit. But Under Siege 1 was good. Under Siege 2 was fun. It was fun to watch. It was funny. The casting wasn't quite as good, but it was still good enough. The bad guy was kind of this nerdy computer genius, and they really couldn't bring that across into something that was like a real good villain, but he wasn't a real credible villain. But it was still a fun movie. He was going to use some kind of killer satellite to zap something. It's so vague, I don't even remember what the fucking
I like
premise
Killer
of it was.
Satellite.
It's basically Under Siege, but on a train. It tried to be like Die Hard, which that's what I would have done.
I feel like there are so many movies that are Die Hard on a blank.
Die Hard on a thing, Die Hard on a train. Die Hard
in the
that.
desert. Die Hard
Yeah.
on a camel's back. Die Hard, I don't know. I'm just making stuff up.
Well, Die Hard was doing that. Die Hard was on a different thing every time. So, you know
That's
what I mean?
true.
It was doing that. So,
Die Hard on a Soviet space station.
Yeah.
Die Hard on a, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so... yeah. It was just... They were just movies of the time. You youngsters wouldn't understand.
They would, though. I mean, I feel like they do.
Yeah. They were never intended to be taken seriously.
I mean, I hope not.
No.
DJ Maniac, I was asking about the Bauhaus song.
Yeah.
He said, it's an exquisite corpse of a track. They reworked parts from one of their old songs and sent the files back and forth. Oh, okay. Well, that's kind of intriguing. So that's like kind of experimental.
Yeah.
I kind of liked that exquisite corpse thing that they did, where they each, one of them, like all four of them, like did their own shit, and then they like stuck it all together. I thought that was like a pretty cool
Maniac
concept.
saying bullshit. Tom will put on a wig for the right amount. I'll put on a wig for no money if I'm in the right fucking...
He's a whore.
If I'm in the right mood, I just let the shit take over.
I called you a whore just like Burt
Yeah.
Reynolds called Dolly Parton in the best little whorehouse in Texas.
Yeah, we got a review. That review's up already.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was a good movie if you want to listen to a musical.
Yeah, I mean, if you're into a musical and you're you don't like have to love country music, because I
Yeah.
certainly don't, but
Yeah.
it's still like a fun movie anyway.
Yeah, and fucking you see Dolly Parton at her greatest, and she was just this legendary Southern woman of epic proportions. I mean, that woman.
She's floating along in a cloud
Yeah.
of boobs.
I'm going like, Jenny, we got to get you that bra. I said, and I'm trying to get Jenny
I don't
to
even know
estimate.
if that was just bra. That might have been bra and tape.
It was a mixture of a bunch
And
of
like
stuff.
lots of other, like all kind of rigging.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like there's a lot of rigging going
Yeah.
on under there.
Well, I have already pre-investigated. I had pre-investigated Dolly years ago as I was studying for my master's degree in boobology. Okay. Dolly was never natural. Okay, but though she was evidently big before she did, got implants. A lot of people don't realize, that some of these women who were fucking well endowed, like Jenny she was big before implants. Having implants is kind of like putting on an internal bra, so it makes big boobs look better, and that's kind of what. Some girls don't have any boobs, they'll put them in. But other girls will have big boobs, they'll put them in and to make big boobs look better. It's like you got a bra on even if you don't have a bra on. That's what and Dolly was one of those. But she kept getting bigger ones and getting things done. She'll admit it. It's no secret. She said, she'll just, oh no, I've had nips and tucks, and she's now a monument to plastic surgery. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really get why you would like deny, especially in this day and age.
No.
I mean, I don't think anybody does anymore. But I kind of feel like back in the old days, but absolutely not. I'm just naturally beautiful. I'm like, bullshit. Come on, no, you're not.
I have a lot of respect for Dolly over the years. You know what Barbara Walters tried to do to her on television? That shit's on YouTube. You can look that up. Tried to humiliate her and everything. That was player hate, really, because fucking you put Barbara next to fucking Dolly blows Barbara away, you know what I mean? And she's fucking jumping on her for being some ignorant barefoot fucking trailer park whatever. Man, fucking
She's
Dolly
trying
was
to throw shade on her for being trashy.
Yeah, but the thing is that Dolly was not trashy. Dolly was very classy.
Even if she was, just own the trashy.
She wasn't trashy.
No, I'm just saying, even if you were. Though.
Yeah, that was her excuse. She would just, but if you look at Dolly's history, Dolly was always very classy. But she was always wigs, implants, sexy outfits. So she would make a joke out of it. Yeah, I'm trashy. She wasn't trashy though. She was a fucking very nice woman. She just liked to look hot. Well, women do like to look
that
hot.
was just
She was
that
a
was
bombshell.
her.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of her. That's her brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And she could sing. She, you know,
So,
if I could go back and listen to her old stuff.
It's all about branding. Like I said, I think people understand that nowadays better than they did back then.
Back in the 70s, they didn't understand branding.
Yeah.
Okay, so...
now every Instagram model has that little shit down pat. But like back then, I kind of feel like it was some weird alien concept to some degree.
Yeah. But she got she got enhancements as she aged, and she nips and tucks and perfections and chiseled away. But she wasn't the only one. They were all doing that in Hollywood.
Well, I feel like everybody
was the one that would came out behind it.
Like I said, and back then, it was a big deal to come out and say, yeah, I had plastic surgery, because back then, everybody was kind of like operating under this illusion that all of these women were naturally that beautiful when they were like 50, 60 years old, which is not impossible, but very, very unlikely.
No. It's just like these fucking fakes, like Arnie, which I love Arnie, even that motherfucker's a fake, okay? Arnie, and in a way Sly, even though Sly is not as fake, and these other guys in The Rock, okay? They pretend like they don't do fucking anabolic steroids. Of course they do anabolic steroids. Are you a child?
Which is dumb. Just say.
Just like, and the reason why they don't say is because they don't want people to diminish the work that they've done. Oh, well, you can just sit around and take steroids and get big like that. No, you can't. No, it's a mixture of everything. They're just supplementing with that.
Well, then come out and say that. It's just, to me, it just seems dumb to like have this whole like fucking illusion that you built around you. I mean, that's stupid.
Right.
I mean, people are gonna find, especially nowadays, people are gonna find out about your shit. So you might as well just like lay it all out on the fucking table and be deal with it.
Children, all those dudes take steroids. They all do.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think everybody knows that now. But I think there was like some big thing back in the old. No, we don't do that. Yeah. And we just work out to get this awesome.
Right. And all those people in the Marvel fucking universe.
We're just naturally this beautiful.
All the Captain America and all those girls and fucking, they're all on shit. Okay.
Tyler says, in one of Seagal's more recent movies, he sits in a chair for nearly the entire thing.
Yeah, and it was something in front of him so you can't see him. You can only see from the fucking chin up. You don't even want you to see the neck. And when he gets up,
you can only see his eyes. He's gonna wear a burqa, and
then they cut away, and then they cut back to him, and he's walking away, but you can only see him from the back, and it's his body double. He needed a body double to go down the stairs.
It was much thinner. Well, yeah, we left. I can't even remember the name of the movie that we watched.
Mercenary for Justice, or
was
something.
it? Yeah, they're all named
Mercenary for Justice, Killer for Hire.
That's what all of them are named.
Steel Justice, Steel Mercenary for Hire for
like
Justice.
I said, they have one of those like magnetic poetry sets that just has like badass. It's called Badass Words. I don't know. I'm just saying. And they just like you mix them around in their fridge and be like, okay, that's the next Steven Seagal movie. Somebody write a script for that. Actually, don't even write a script. Yeah. Just write a paragraph and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Steven Seagal will just sit in a chair and mumble at people and squint, and then other people will run around and shoot everybody, and it'll all get resolved in the end. Yeah. So that's a wrap. You know what I mean? What the fuck was that noise? Is somebody climbing up the outside of our house?
It's like.
Did that
little thing pop out of the...
Oh, shit, I hope not.
Think that...
Did you fuck out my window? I had this
thing... Oh, it's raining.
Oh, okay.
That must have...
So I heard all kind of weird noises outside the fucking office.
And then Pookie runs up. What are you doing?
What are you doing? Well, I'm on the second floor. Like, my office is right over the garage. Yeah. Every time it rains or the wind blows, it's really loud in here. It sounds like a fucking tornado.
Yeah.
And one of these windows... had this weird, like, this black, what the fuck was that? Like, that weather stripping? And it was kind of, like, hanging off.
Yeah.
So this morning, like, Tom and I...
trim.
It's like, like a black trim. And it's, like, hanging off. I guess it came off in a storm or something. Yeah. And we couldn't get this window open because, like, the locks are stuck or something.
No, it's the things on the side that have to be
replaced. The things are on the side? Okay.
Yeah, they had to replace.
So this window wouldn't open, like, for me to, like, pull it off. So Tom had to go in the gym next door, open that window, and climb out on the fucking roof, like a little bit of the roof over the garage to, like, pull it off. And I'm just like, I was like, I'm telling you right now, I think this is a bad idea. Please do not fall and splat all over the fucking driveway just to get that stupid piece of, like, weather stripping off of that window. But you know what I mean? That's how it goes.
Yeah.
Let's see. They're still talking about Dolly Parton. Dolly is the holy mother of LGBTQ plus. That's true.
Well, why is that?
Yeah.
She just has a lot of gay fans. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Big time. Well, it's just kind of like like Dolly. It's like Liza Minnelli, all that kind of stuff.
Well, like I said, she was a Southern woman of fucking legendary proportions. But she's not as insane as some of the fucking girls that we know that do cam shit, like fucking Princess fucking Pinky and shit like that. She's not like that. Really, her fucking claim to fame is that she could fucking sing and she could act. Her acting was really good.
I think the boobs were just like supplemental.
Yeah, right. I mean,
because she was actually talented. It wasn't just she just had big boobs.
If she couldn't sing that well, you'd never know who she was. Boobs or not, but she could sing well. Her falsetto was as good as a yodel. I'm pretty sure she probably could yodel. She's just beautiful voice.
Camp Guy
could act.
Camp Guy said, my parents had this friend, a lady, that did herself up with all kinds of scarves, makeup, wigs, costume jewelry, etc. It was a trip. My old man once whispered to me, it's all fake. Mm. And you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really understand the whole thing to if you're gonna wear wigs and makeup and stuff like that. I'm always kind of like, well, I'm not really worried about whether it looks real or not.
Well, another thing
I don't really think that's the point of it.
Our parents' generation and part of our generation, we grew up in a time of transition before the internet, before shit like Instagram. They were very Rube-like. They didn't understand fucking show business. They didn't analyze it. They'd see somebody on camera and they would think that, they wouldn't realize that, that dude's got a wig on. And, this guy's got a fucking corset on. They didn't really...
And makeup and everything. Well, everybody on TV has makeup on.
Yeah.
Men, too.
Right.
Everybody.
Yeah, they weren't really analyzing what they were seeing.
You can't put some fucker with no makeup on TV. It doesn't look right. It looks...
You look like a damn corpse.
You do. Everybody does.
Yeah. So they didn't really analyze what they were seeing. But now, in a world of fucking Instagram and social media, I mean, you have people fucking doing photo shoots with their cameras and figuring at home, realizing that, you can't really be natural and make a good photograph. It doesn't photograph right.
No.
If you fucking photograph yourself, that's like our friend Sophie. Our friend Sophie will take a picture of herself on purpose to look fucking natural and shit with no makeup on to how I really look. And she'll fucking point that up to try to get sympathy, Sophie. I know you're talking about Sophie. Like, look how plain I am. And I said, the thing is, Sophie, is you don't look like that. You don't look like that. Everybody looks bad in a photo like that.
That's what I mean.
You don't actually look like that.
Yeah. When you see her in real life, because we've seen her in real life without makeup and stuff like that. Yeah. But, I mean, everybody looks... funny in a photograph. You don't look the way you actually look.
Right. Unless you fucking have really tweaked that photograph and prepared the lighting and there's makeup and touch-ups and camera angles involved. If you just snap a photograph of yourself, especially fucking in HD, in fucking just average lighting, you look like a corpse. But that's not how you look to another person who would be standing right there next to that camera looking at you. The human eye doesn't perceive things that way.
I mean, if I took a picture of me, like when I first woke up,
you'd look bad.
I would look bad. Yeah, like I would look like all fucking blotchy and fucking. I'd have big bags under my eyes and shit like that.
But when you're walking around living your life in the club and shit, especially in fucking flattering club lighting at night, nobody looks like that. Nobody looks like that. Everybody looks pretty good at night.
Yeah, because it's kind of dark.
Yeah.
TB Trigger says, hey, I'll be in Florida at the end of April. Any suggestion of things to see or do?
Where are you going?
Yeah, where in Florida are you going? Because Florida's really big. So I hesitate to suggest anything because
go to that Walmart up there in the Panhandle.
Because it might be 300 miles away from where you're going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, personally, I don't know if you like theme parks, obviously Orlando's good because we have all of the theme parks. If you like history and shit like that, then I would go to maybe St. Augustine, which is on the East Coast, or West Coast, maybe Tampa, St. Pete kind of area, because they have a lot of cool shit going on too.
Seth says everybody looks good at night after a few drinks. That's right, Seth.
Well, that's why beer goggles are a thing.
No, I'm just fucking with Seth. Seth is a cutie pie.
That's why beer goggles are a thing.
Yeah.
All right, so Man, my drink's... Well, I still have a
Oh, you
drink,
wanna
but
get
it's...
some? Yeah, well,
Yeah, but it's getting kind of...
freshen that up for you.
It's getting kind of watery.
Okay.
And I feel like maybe we should start getting into the show. Like I said,
Okay, yeah, fine.
it's... I know that when I said that it was 5 or 6 cases, you were going to, like, roll your eyes at me and go, Jesus Christ, Jenny. But I tried to keep them brief. Famous last words. Famous last words. You guys know how that goes. And like I said, I don't feel like I need to go... Like, the missing persons cases, I don't... You know, I'm going to go into the details of them, but I don't really feel the need to go super, super into detail because we covered the cases before, like, on some older cases, and we're just kind of, like, refreshing people's memory about them because there have been, like, updates in the case. So there's that. But yeah, I will wait until Clearwater. I want to see the Salvador Dali Museum. Oh yeah, I haven't been... I went there... Gosh. I went to the Salvador Dali Museum many years ago, and I remember being kick-ass. It was, like, really, really... It was really awesome. But it was, like, a really long time ago that I went. So I don't know if it's been, like, updated. I'm sure there's, like, different stuff there. But I thought it was, like... I thought it was excellent. So... Yeah, I mean, so I'm trying to think. I lived in the Clearwater, Tampa area back in the early 2000s. I was a big fan. Yeah, the Dali Museum is great. What they used to call the South Florida Museum, I don't think it's called that anymore, but if you look up that, it'll tell you what it's called now. That was really cool. They had a lot of really cool, like, artifacts and stuff. And I was really into the aquarium there too. They had like a really, they had a really awesome aquarium in the Tampa area, which I used to go to all the time when I lived over there. But yeah, the Dali Museum is super cool. I mean, there's a lot. I didn't live in Tampa long enough to really give too much of a fucking thing. Like, I don't know. I lived more on the East Coast, like Daytona, St. Augustine kind of area, and in the Central Florida area, like Orlando sort of thing. Honestly, I'm trying to go through most of Florida, going from Panama City to Daytona, but will go out of my way to see something interesting. Daytona is actually my hometown. That's where I was born. So if you drive past Halifax Hospital, that's where little bitty baby Jenny was born at, way back in 1972, a very long time ago. And I actually grew up in Holly Hill, right off of Derbyshire Avenue. If you know where that was. Is it Derbyshire Avenue? I guess it's Derbyshire Avenue. I think it's Avenue. I can't remember. But yeah, it was a long time ago. I moved away from there probably 2010? 2011? Something like that. But my brother still lives there, though. So
Pookie's asking for food over there.
What, like wet food or treats?
Wet food. This is ridiculous.
There's wet food in the little mini fridge.
Okay, she wants me to clean this off. Go ahead and start the show, and I'll clean this.
I gave her some this morning, and she's still... You were a little piggy, Poke. She's a little piggy.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually only try to give her, like, a healthy, like, tablespoon of it.
Yeah, there's some in the refrigerator I see over there.
Yeah.
That's going to have to soak a little bit.
I know.
I'm just going to let it soak a little bit.
I have to, like, clean it, like, really... Every morning I get in there and, like, scrub it with the fucking sponge and shit like that. Because...
She's spoiled. She's got little feeding dishes and trays all over the fucking house.
Which
She's got little feed stations.
Jackson Galaxy says you shouldn't do that, like, because your cats will get fat.
Yeah.
But... Because if they can just eat whenever they want, then they will.
They will, yeah.
But...
She is getting a little fat, if you ask me.
She's not fat. Stop body shaming her. It's a pouch. She is a little, she is a little bit. She is a little chunky.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Yeah. She's still very energetic. It's not like she just lays around like, look how fat I am. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like she runs everywhere. Yeah. So she gets a lot of exercise.
We just need to cut her down a little bit. I'm spoiling her too much.
She's like, why
too much, Pokey.
She knows what you're talking about.
She's
exactly like, oh, I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
I don't like what you guys are talking about.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to the.
All right. So she's not fat. She's thick.
Yeah.
She is kind of, and like I said, she's in good shape. She like runs around and stuff like that. She runs around all night. I can hear her.
Yeah.
All right. So the first case, and I think I brought this up like briefly. I got the idea to do this show because so many of you guys sent me like updates on some of the cases that we had talked about, and I was like, oh, we should do a whole show of those. So that's where I got the idea.
Yeah, so thank you for sending the updates.
Yeah. It was like several different people that sent me, hey, did you see this? Hey, did you see this? So it's like I kind of like compiled
Good job,
the
people.
ones. And crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
And so I picked, I mean, a lot of cases, because of DNA, a lot of cases, an alarming amount, well, not alarming, like an actually pretty awesome amount of cold cases have been solved because of like DNA shit. Like I said, how they famously caught, the original Night Stalker, Golden State Killer. But I wanted to focus on ones that we had covered previously. Right. So I kind of went back through our old creepy disappearances shows and shit like that and looked for stuff that we had talked about before because I wanted to update those. And I think I brought this up on one of our sidetrack shows, or maybe I brought it up on one of our other shows like a few weeks ago because somebody sent me an update on this. But let's talk about the Brandon Lawson case. This was like a very, very high profile missing persons case, and a lot of people, like a lot of channels, covered this like when it first happened, just because there were 911 calls and it was like the circumstances around it were so weird and shit like that. We first talked about this case back in early December of 2018 on episode 120 on one of our creepy disappearances shows. So let's kind of like talk about what happened with this, why everybody got so fascinated with this. So Brandon Lawson disappeared on August 9th, 2013. He's from San Angelo, Texas. So what happened the day before that, August 8th, or the night before, he comes home, and at his house, he lived with his girlfriend, Alissa Lofton. They had been together for 10 years. Now, according to her, they got into an argument sometime between 10:45, 11 p.m. Now, the thing they were arguing about was the fact that Brandon had not come home, allegedly, the night before. And so Ledessa was upset that he was falling back into, because he had been had some issues with drugs in the past, although he had supposedly been clean for 6 months at this point. So she believed that he had backslid, and that's why he hadn't come home the night before. So they apparently got into an argument about that. Now, his brother, though, says, yeah, that's probably what happened. I think he took some meth. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what his brother said. His brother's name is Kyle, by the way. So around 11:30 at night, Brandon calls his dad, who's in Crowley, Texas. I'm not sure if it's how you pronounce it. I'm not from Texas. Could be Crowley, could be
No, they can say Crowley in Texas.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
I just said Crowley because of Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
But,
in Texas be Crowley.
That's what I thought of. So he calls his dad. Now, his dad lived about 3 hours away. So he calls his dad.
Crowley. They would say Crowley.
Crowley.
Yeah. They would in Mississippi. It'd be Crowley. Okay, it's just funny. She threw me out of it, so I'm trying to get southern with the thing, and no, in Mississippi that'd be Crowley.
See, it's just the littlest thing.
Yeah,
and sometimes, like, we've known each other so long, that sometimes when I'm doing the notes for the show, like sometimes I'll be reading and I'll be like, oh God, we're gonna go off on a whole tangent, like on that word, or on that statement or whatever. So I'm like, should I take it out? Is this show gonna be 7 hours long? So it's like, these are the things that I have to like think through. Yeah. Because I was like, I know that it's gonna be like, I kind of thought that maybe that would happen there.
Well, I had to use my fucking my AI calculator to try to redneckify that fucking word. And
gotta redneckify.
Yeah, like if I had 1,000 of them trying to read that word, how would they pronounce it? That's how I'm.
Well, see, I was kind of thinking that too, and I'm not gonna like shit on you too much because I get hung up on that shit too. Because like sometimes I'm reading about something and there'll be a word, and then I go off on a whole like rabbit hole about. Well, wait, about the pronunciation of that, and then that leads to some other situation, and then I'm off on a whole different
Y'all know
topic.
what we're talking about. They
know.
They're all regular.
You know how we do. We can't help it.
No.
This is just how we are. We can't help it. But yeah, we both do kind of that same thing. But it's just funny that a lot of times when I'm reading through the notes, I absolutely know when you're gonna like go off on a tangent. Not always, because sometimes you like come in with something that I'm not expecting, but not usually. Usually I can be like, oh, right there, that's where it's gonna go off the rails. So sometimes I take it out. I'm not gonna lie.
Don't take it out. Leave it in there. They're paying for this shit. They're paying for this.
Yeah,
shit.
but I don't want to stay here for 7 hours.
Okay,
I'm gonna fall
all right.
asleep.
Okay, all right.
I'm already sleepy.
I'm gonna let Jenny.
I'm
gonna let Jenny.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. For now.
For now. For now. And now I need a shirt that says that. I'm gonna let Jenny.
Yeah.
For now.
For now. Motherfucker might have to step in.
And un-Jenny the Jenny.
Okay.
Oh, shit. All right, so where were we? Okay. Well, yeah, we got distracted by the name of the town, and I'm not going to say it again.
Okay.
Anyway, so the dad lived 3 hours away. So Brandon calls and says, hey, I'm coming to see you, like 3 hours. I guess, because he had a fight with his girlfriend, so, okay. So a little before midnight, 11:54 p.m., Brandon leaves his house, apparently, to drive to his dad's house, driving his car, which was a silver Ford F-150. Now, at about 12:30 in the morning on August 9th, Brandon calls his brother, Kyle, and says, hey, I ran out of gas, and I got pulled over on Route 277 between San Angelo and Bronte, Texas. Kyle later said that during this phone call, Brandon said 3 expletives, quote unquote, so assholes, shitheads, motherfuckers, I don't know what the word was exactly, are chasing me out of town. Yeah, it could be 3 goddamn motherfuckers are chasing me out of town. I don't know. It just says expletives, which is funny in this day and age.
Yes.
It's like, just put the word. Come on.
It's okay, Pokey.
3 pookies are chasing me out of town.
Pokey's looking at me rolling over. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
She's trying to get me to play with her. I can't play, Pokey. I'm working.
I mean, you can. You could, like, throw some stuff out.
I gotta go
but,
clean the plate in a minute.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you have to let it soak for a long time because for some reason that wet food, she loves it, but as soon as like an hour after you put it on the plate, it's like concrete. Yeah. And then you have to like soak it for really and then you have to scrub it off with like fucking steel wool. So yeah. So yeah, 3 expletives are chasing me out of town. 3 motherfuckers. Let's say motherfuckers. And later said, no, it's the Mexicans in the neighborhood. The Mexicans are chasing him out of town. Okay?
They want their land back.
I guess. I don't know. But that's what he said. Well, see, these weird phone calls are why this became such a high-profile case, because everyone's like, what the fuck was he even talking about? Like I said, his brother said he might have been on meth. I'm not, like, judging the dude because, you know, something bad happened to him, but... you know, his brother did say that maybe he was on meth. I'm just saying. Because he did say some crazy shit, like, on the phone. So at this point, his brother asked him, are you hallucinating? And Brandon said no. And then Kyle and his wife and their 4-year-old kid, they drove over to Brandon and the girlfriend's house and got, like, a gas can. And so, while the whole time that they're driving between the house and between where the truck was supposed to be, he kept, like, calling his brother. But Kyle said, well, Brandon wouldn't, like, maintain a conversation with him. It's like, he'd usually, like, say a couple sentences and then he would hang up. So, it was kind of like this really weird situation. Now, 12:50 a.m., Brandon called 911. And told the person on the other end of the phone, the responder, he said, I ran out of gas and that I need the police. During this phone call, which you can hear online, it's everywhere, he says some weird shit. He starts saying stuff like, yes, I'm in the middle of a field, and then there's like an inaudible bit, pulled some guys over, right here going toward Abilene on both sides. That's what he says. My truck ran out of gas. There's 1 car here. The guy's chasing something to the woods. Please hurry. That's what he says. It's very, very garbled.
Chasing my ass into the woods.
Maybe.
Probably safe.
So yeah, like I said, if you want to hear the 911 call, like I said, just look it up. Just Brandon Lawson 911 call. It's all over YouTube. You can hear it everywhere. Then a couple minutes later, another call comes into 911 from a trucker that was going by, and he was reporting Brandon's truck because it was apparently like parked all crazy, like in the street, and it was like dangerous. So between 12:50 a.m. and 1:15 a.m., Brandon apparently both received and made a whole bunch of calls with his brother Kyle, his girlfriend, his neighbor, and the 911 dispatcher. But his cell phone reception was really shitty, so a lot of the calls that were coming into him would go straight to voicemail. After 1:19 a.m., all of the calls went to voicemail. Now, around 1:18, though, like a minute before that happened, Kyle, his brother, called Brandon and said later that he did get him to answer, and he said Brandon sounded like he was gasping, like out of breath, and Brandon said that he was bleeding. That's what it sounded like. So at this point, a sheriff's deputy shows up at Brandon's truck. But he gets there and Brandon isn't there. He's not at the truck. Kyle gets there a couple minutes later. This was 1:10 a.m. And like I said, this was like a little bit before like the weird phone call where he said he was bleeding. But when he's on the phone, he gets to the truck. They find the truck, him and the cop. And Brandon on the phone says, "I can see you. I'm right here." But they're looking all around and they can't see him. Like, they don't know where he's at. Like, I know it's the middle of the night, but, you know. So, what they're speculating... Okay, so Brandon, at this point, did have an arrest warrant out on him. Presumably for drug charges. I'm not entirely sure. So maybe when the cops showed up, he hid, although that's dumb because he called the cops. And he said he needed the police, please hurry. So it would be dumb to, like, hide from the cops. I don't really know. But... he says, "I can see you, I'm right here," but they couldn't see where he was. So Kyle, the brother, talks to the cop, and then he drives up the road a little bit and parked, and he's like waiting for his brother to like show up because he's apparently like right there. He said, "I can see you." And he waited for like 45 minutes and he's like, "Fuck this," and then he took off. Now, because he's like, at this point, he just thought, well, his brother ran out of gas and he's just like tweaking out on something. I guess that's what he thought. So Kyle leaves the gas can in the back of Brandon's truck and kind of goes a little bit away. And then he came back like a couple hours later, about 5 a.m, thinking that Brandon would be gone or that everything would be resolved. But when he got back there, the truck was like still there and Brandon was not back yet. About 3 hours after that, at 8 a.m, the truck actually got towed. Now, after this, obviously, everybody kind of like wigged out or like, where the fuck did this dude go? Like, they couldn't find him anywhere. So, you know, the deputy, the sheriff, everything like that, they have a search party. They looked everywhere, like around the fucking truck. And they had flown planes over the area. And they didn't see anything suspicious. Now, obviously, his family and a lot of, like, internet sleuths and stuff like that kind of kept this case alive over many, many years. Because, like I said, this was 2013 that he went missing. We covered it in 2018. And as I said, it was all over. Like, all the true crime channel. I think every single true crime channel on YouTube, like, covered it at least once. Because it was so weird. Like, the 911 calls and stuff like that were so weird. And they couldn't figure out, like, where he'd gone. So this was very, very high profile. But it turned out that what happened, there was an update to this like very, very recently, like in February of this year. What ended up happening was that there was a private property not too far away from where the truck was. Now, apparently the owners of this property, I don't know if the cops had searched it at the time because it was private property, but the owners of this property apparently didn't, you know, watch YouTube or didn't really know anything about the Brandon Lawson case, and they were just completely oblivious as far as I know. So I don't know if their property was ever searched, but after a while, I don't know if the cops initiated this or if there was like a guy who's kind of like an internet sleuth / missing persons investigator. He kept like pushing, and he was kind of finally like got in touch with the owners and was like, "We really need to search your property." So they did that. So they searched this property, and they found on January 15th, 2022, some clothing consistent with what Brandon was last seen wearing. And then at that point, the cops are called, and then they found, they searched the area, and then they found human remains. These were found about a mile from where Brandon's truck ran out of gas. Now, they're still doing the DNA tests. They haven't confirmed the identity, but the fact that they found these human remains right where Brandon's clothes were and a mile from where his truck was found, his family are pretty well, they're like, we know that's him.
Were the remains were buried?
I don't know, actually. I don't know if they... Because I think what might have happened, it seemed like from his weird phone calls, I kind of think what happened, I don't know if it was like some kind of road rage incident or something like that. I think maybe he like pissed off somebody like on the road and they maybe shot him, and then maybe he just, I don't know if he died where he fell. I don't know if he got murdered.
I'd have to hear the recordings to see if he was acting or bullshitting or if he was really worried. Could he have faked this attack and actually committed suicide?
I don't know. It really didn't seem like... I mean, from all the stuff that I read, it didn't really seem like he was... I don't know. I guess they always say, look, he wasn't the type of person to do that. But, that's hard to say.
There was a case of a guy who was flying his Cessna. His dad, I think, was an Air Force general, if I remember correctly. He's calling in a damn UFO sighting. And then plane lost. Never did find him. But I don't believe he was abducted by a UFO. I believe he committed suicide. He just didn't want his family to know that he had committed suicide. So he faked a UFO abduction.
And maybe some people like the idea, if they're gonna kill themselves anyway,
to go out
like and be like a big mystery.
Yeah.
Like I could see like
right.
I could see wanting to do that.
This kind of sounds like that. It's implausible. If dudes are after you, I don't know, it just doesn't usually go down like that.
I mean, was somebody after him from before?
Dudes
it
are
just
after
seemed
you
like
that are going to kill you. Usually they kill you on the spot. And there's all kinds of videos of it. It's usually not a long, drawn-out process. They overtake you, they kill you.
This just seems very strange. Like, he just decided, apparently, I'm only going by, because he's dead, obviously. So, well, when they confirm the DNA, I'm assuming that he's dead.
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah, well, his family are like, yeah, we're pretty sure that's him. They haven't confirmed it yet, but they're pretty sure. But it's just weird that... So apparently, according to everybody, he had a fight with his girlfriend, and this was like spur of the moment. He just decided at the spur of the moment, supposedly, I'm going to drive 3 hours to my dad's house. I don't know if he was going to stay there because he was mad at his girlfriend. Maybe there was nobody closer he could stay with or whatever. But he's just decided, I'm going to drive 3 hours at like midnight to my dad's house. And then somehow, like on the highway, on the way there, somebody apparently... like made him pull over. He said he ran out of gas.
I'm just not buying this.
And then it's not impossible. I've heard weirder shit.
Yeah.
But you run out of gas and then you just call, like, how likely would it be that some car full of hooligans
Mexicans, yeah,
or Mexicans or murderers pulls over? I'm not saying it's impossible. It does happen. But it's just, I don't know. It's just not that likely. So I don't really know. I think that's why everybody was so like interested in this case, because it's like the details of it are so weird. Like what could possibly have happened?
Y'all can tell me what you think in the comment section, but it doesn't smell right to me. I suspect suicide.
Kelly G makes a good point. Meth, which his brother said that he might have been on, because he had drug problems in the past.
I forgot about that.
He had supposedly been clean for 6 months, but his brother said that maybe he had backslid. And maybe that's what him and his girlfriend were fighting about, because she said that he'd been out the whole night before. And
meth doesn't make you hallucinate.
Well, no, she said she says it makes people paranoid.
Yeah.
and they think they see things that aren't there, especially if they've been up for a couple days. So it could have been.
Oh yeah, he might have been up for a couple days. Yeah.
So it could have been that he had backslid.
So I don't. Yep.
And he thought somebody was after him. Yeah. I mean, he did die.
I've been drinking, but you're now folding in some more.
So I'm not sure if somebody did actually kill him, because the thing about it is that they did find his remains, but they haven't released the manner of death yet. So I'm not sure if there was like gunshot wounds or something like that, because it was skeletal remains, obviously.
It might have been exposure, or
it could have been
himself in the head. You don't know. But now that you're laying all this into me, you know what I mean? Fucking, it's coming back. I'm not gonna back off what I said. Suicide. He may have not intentionally killed himself, but he killed himself. He was smoking meth, went fucking crazy.
Allegedly.
Probably.
I mean, maybe. It would explain a lot.
Yeah,
to be honest. I'm not judging. I'm just saying it would explain a lot.
A real violent attack takes place in a single location. It's not usually a big drawn-out ordeal with your running this and that. It's just not how it goes. I mean, fucking Grampers isn't here. He's a federal agent, fucking law enforcement agent. He'll tell you when an attack happens, it's a point. It's a point target. It happens right then and there. It's not some big drawn out thing. Usually.
Well, and if it was somebody that knew him, that was like after him for a beef, how would they have known that he was going to be on that particular stretch of road at that time? Because apparently it was like a spur of the moment decision to go to his dad's house.
Statistically, attacks take place in a single location at a single time. It's not a big drawn out chase type thing. So I'm just saying, statistically, I think that his "I'm being chased by a bunch of Mexicans" stories is unlikely. It's unlikely. It's more likely he's high on meth.
And is maybe just like thinking.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know what might have happened is that somebody maybe pulled over to help him.
And he's
he wigged out. And he wigged out thinking these people are out to get me or something like that, and ran away into the woods.
He's running and he's calling. They're trying to get me, and his brain's fried because of fucking not sleeping and all that meth, and then he dies of exposure or kills himself somewhere.
Now that I'm saying it out loud, that actually kind of sounds more likely to me.
Okay.
What?
What's up, Poop?
What's the matter?
So to the surviving family, maybe not so much suicide, more like accidental overdose.
Although, like I said, I don't know what the cause of death is yet.
So come back exposure.
Yeah.
Or something that kind of self-caused. He wasn't in his right mind. That's more likely. I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm saying statistically, just more likely that's what happened.
Yeah, because like I said, it does happen, but it is very rare to just get killed by. What are you doing?
She tries to get into every damn closet. You've been asking to go in closets.
You know what happened last time you got in that closet. You don't remember. Mommy remembers.
She stands up and
you almost strangled yourself.
If there's a closet or a door, she has to go in. That's ridiculous. You stop acting.
That's
like
the closet
child.
where she almost strangled herself on my bra. So I said, okay, no more closets for you.
What a way to go! Strangling on a bra. Damn.
Oh my God! It's just
if I had to go. That's the way to go. Okay.
I thought you want to be smothered by boobs, not just a bra. Smothered by boobs. Right. But no, I was just saying, like, you guys remember, because I talked about it. Like, I found her. It was morning, at least, so I was awake, and I heard her, like, choking. So I went and I found her in the closet, and she was, like, strangled on the bra. And after that, I was like, nope, no more closet for you. Yeah. And she is so mad about it. Every morning, she scratches on that closet door, and she's like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah,"
but
like,
to me,
let me in. I'm like, no.
Back to this case, to me, this doesn't sound like a plausible situation or a story. He's high.
That would explain a lot, like I said.
He's high. He's high, and he did something that resulted in his demise.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be kind of like, now that I'm thinking about it, I would actually be kind of surprised if he was murdered.
Nah.
It might have just been like a really unfortunate, like I said, it might have been that somebody pulled over and like tried to help him, and like he wigged out and like ran into the woods, and they're just like, okay, what the hell is this dude?
And he goes out in the woods and somehow dies of exposure, or I don't know, maybe meth could make you overheat. I don't really know everything that meth can do to you. I mean, shit, man, we've had motherfuckers try to eat other motherfuckers' faces in broad daylight with like.
Well, he didn't try. He actually kind of did it partially.
So there's no telling. This sounds
drugs are bad. Okay.
Drugs are bad.
Well, not all of them.
It depends.
I don't want to say that across the board.
Cheap street drugs are bad.
Some drugs are fun.
Yeah, if you don't spend any money for them, don't take that shit. Okay. There's a reason why they're cheap. Okay. Fucking.
Yeah, I don't want anybody taking that shit and eating my face.
Yeah,
That's
go fucking go on YouTube and go look at what Flocka does. It only costs a couple bucks, but why would you spend a couple bucks?
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay for.
Buyer beware.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Camp Guy said, I once knew a guy that would get so drunk he would pass out and then piss his pants or bed because he didn't wake up.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's pretty common. And you see that, you can see that now just like if you go on YouTube or something like that. Like sometimes they're like, hey, look at these girls that were at a Mardi Gras or whatever. And they got so fucked up that they like fell asleep in a gutter and then pooped themselves. Yeah. So, and obviously someone's going to film that shit.
Yeah,
so,
it didn't happen to anybody. Our cute little fucking friend Sonia, I threw her ass over my fucking shoulder to carry her drunk ass out of the car, and she pissed down my fucking back of my. Remember that shit happened?
Yeah.
She peed down my back.
I mean, I've never done that, but I will admit to being like drunk and then like going in a bar bathroom like to throw up, and then while I'm throwing up, like sometimes I pee a little bit.
I didn't know about
that.
Like
while you're throwing up a little bit.
Right, man.
So then you gotta like clean up.
Damn.
But you know,
that's never happened to me.
I
like throwing up though.
It's weird like that. Like I get it, but I've never liked throwing up. I'm better about it now than I used to be. I used to be like very. I know there's a word for like for a phobia about throwing up. I totally used to have that.
No, I love throwing up.
I still. He does. And
I'll be talking to Jenny throwing up like it's nothing happened.
Well, and he's like real controlled about it too, because we'll be like driving and he'll be like, hang on a second. And then he'll just like, bleh.
Yeah.
All right, so. And I'm just kind of like, how could you even fucking do that? Like, we had that, like, one time we were
I
like.
could even hit targets and shit.
Yeah, we were drunk and we were like kind of like walking in the house and you were just kind of like, hang on. And then you barfed in the bushes. Yeah. And then you're like, all right. And then you just like went in the house and you were fine.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious to me. It's hilarious.
I don't fight it. Just go with it.
I try to fight. I hate to throw up.
Just go with it. You're fighting it.
I know.
Don't fight it. It's happening because it has to happen.
But it's like
there's too much alcohol in your stomach.
Well, it's like I don't want to like barf in my lap or some shit like that. I want to have to clean that shit up.
You just have to be real cool. So hold on, I get rid of this. It's just like back in ancient Rome. You know what I mean? They had motherfuckers trying to tickle in the back of your throat with a feather, so you could throw up like that, and you go okay. And then you go back to eat some more.
So you could eat more.
You eat more, and you got to be classy about it. Okay.
Hopefully they had a breath mint. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think probably wash your mouth out, fucking drink some water, and go back like another.
Because that's some shit I think about. I'm like, did they at least
Don't get wrapped up in it. You're not getting wrapped up in it. It's just, you know what I mean? It's like another body's function. It's like taking a leak or something. It's just coming out to this end. Brah. Oh, it feels much better. You know what I mean? And then I throw up. I'll be talking to Jenny. I'll be having a conversation and throw it up a little bit like that. And go back like that. And then I'll talk about. Blah.
I mean, it doesn't happen that much. I haven't thrown up from drinking in a while. Yeah. It's been a while. No. So I'm getting better about it.
It's because it's trying to keep you from getting alcohol.
The last time, actually, it wasn't that long ago, but I will say, and I think I've said this on the show before, because every now and then I'll get like, I was like, oh, I'm in a gin mood tonight. And then I'm always like, well, I'm only going to drink a couple, because if I drink too many gins, I will throw up, because it's very, very acidic.
Maniac says it turns out.
So the last time I threw up, it was because I drank gin.
Maniac says, turns out vomitoriums are myth. Well, the thing is, the vomitorium was not where you threw up.
Yeah.
Vomitorium was an entryway or an exit way out of a large room. That's not what they're talking about. But people in Rome, when they went to the fucking latrine, where you go to the bathroom, did throw up. They threw up. That way because they were drinking.
Yeah.
They were also doing drugs. We just don't know what drugs they were doing, or maybe they figured out now. But back last I heard, this is fucking 20 years ago.
The face-eating drugs.
There's all kinds of receipts from things that were left over in clay pottery that ended up down in the fucking landfill, Roman landfills, with receipts of how much you bought, and it's supplies, obviously, for a party. It's got fucking all the fucking food and all the drinking, and words for things keep popping up, and it's some kind of drug. And there was 4 or 5 of them that Romans did, but they don't know what it is they're talking about. They don't know if it's weed or cocaine or something. But they must have had some kind of... I would think that it was opium. Because they were trading with China in the Far East. So I would think that they knew about opium. I don't know if they smoked it. They probably drank it. Because there's no records of any kind of smoking or injecting anything. They tended to, from what we know, drink things. You could drink opium. It wouldn't be efficient, but you could get zonked on that. You could eat weed. So
well, yeah,
they probably did that.
There's lots of different ingestion options.
There was some different kinds of lotus type things that the ancient Egyptians were really interested in, that they were probably eating, that they said was probably hallucinogenic. So the ancients did get high, and they were unabashed about it. The Mexicans were definitely getting high. They were taking all kinds of hallucinogens. They were big into scopolamine. It was one of the ones that they would take.
Did we do a show about this? About like all the... no, we did a show about angels' trumpets and like that, which is scopolamine, right?
Yeah.
I think is what is... If you make tea out of it, it's
right.
Like, yeah.
The Maya and the Aztecs were a Maya sub-tribe. The Mexican and Central Americans and even the South Americans were a fucking very proud, highly developed civilization. The Spanish recorded a lot before they destroyed it, okay, which is fucking crazy. Even the fucking Spanish friars that were there were like listening to the Vatican going, wait a minute, hold on, you want us to burn all this? It was fucking insane. Their literature was, according to the Spanish friars, equal or even surpassing ancient Greek writings. So they were a very highly developed civilization in terms of literature. They had a fantastic calendar with a good mathematical system and decent understanding of architecture. They just didn't know anything about fertilizer. That was the problem. It would deplete the soil around those cities and they would collapse after a few generations. A Mexican city or a Central American city didn't last long. That was a problem. They didn't understand about fertilizer. Fertilization is fucking very important, or you can't renew the land. So you end up having to sacrifice people thinking that you're repaying the blood debt. It's not growing, so we're doing something wrong. Kill these people. Which is population reduction.
That'll solve everything.
That'll solve it, you know. But now, fucking here in the Americas, we had badass fucking strange civilizations like the ancient Egyptians. They were called the Mexicans. People forget the shit. They're not looking at it the right way.
Well, the Olmecs, the Toltecs.
Yeah, the Olmecs. Well, that was even before all that.
Aztecs.
And some of these people, we're not even sure where they came from. You look at the statues, I mean, a lot of them look like something from the Pacific Islands. So, Easter Island, which is right off the coast of Chile, kind of looked like something out of Hawaii to a certain extent. The way that people were described, they were just... So, man, there's just a lot of mysteries about the past. Everybody was seafaring. Everybody had their time in the sun. And now that the modern world's here, we can all appreciate each other. But we were all traveling all over this place.
Everybody kind of figured out a boat.
Yeah. People were going everywhere. But, it was to be a badass time to be 13 years old back in those days. It was a time of adventure. Like Conan days.
Tom wants to go back to that.
I want to go back to that. Yeah.
DJ Maniac says, when you throw up, you're still drunk, and you get to start over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that happen a few times. Now, I will say, for you guys, maybe bars are different, like, different bars are different.
Yeah.
I've been at the bar a few times, and I'm just kind of like, I get kind of drunk, and I'm just like, okay, I have to go to the bathroom a second, and then I'll go puke, and then... then I come back and I'm like, I feel much better. And, I'm fine and I can drink more. Although I usually stick to water after that. Now, you can't let them catch you doing that, though. Because if they catch you throwing up, they'll throw you out. Because they're like, yeah, you're too drunk to be in here. But if you're discreet about it, you can't barf all over everybody or barf out. You just go in the bathroom and barf discreetly and then come back out and be cool about it. Then you should be all right. Then you can start over, like I said. So yeah, Camp Guy says maybe he walked out into the desert, died of exposure. All they got is bones. Yeah, like I said, I kind of feel like I tried to see if, because the last update I could find about the Brandon Lawson case was February 4th, 2022, and that's when they had sent the DNA for analysis. And as far as I know, as of this live stream, they still haven't identified it, although they're pretty sure that it's him. They're just trying to confirm it. Yeah. But they haven't released the cause of death. So I'm interested to see if it was murder or if it was accidental, like I said.
I'm going to put my money on accident.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know if I want to, like... I don't have enough money to, like, put money on anything, but...
Statistically, he's not the target for violent crime.
I kind of feel like not. And like I said, he said somebody was chasing him, and it's
he's
like...
tripping.
That's not impossible, but it seems unlikely.
It's unlikely.
It seems
more likely he got high and
thought somebody was chasing him, which is sad in itself.
And died, I don't want to say by his own hand. We don't know, probably not suicide per se, but died by accident.
Which is kind of sad, which to me is kind of sadder because it's kind of like, he may be, I don't know if he was on drugs or not, he might have been, but it's just kind of like you do that and you're not really thinking, you're going to die.
We'll know later.
Of it.
We'll know later, but that's what that's feeling like to me. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, that seems like a really fucking tragic, that really could have been like avoided. So that is very sad. And like I said, I mean, I kind of feel like his family, even though they haven't had the DNA results yet, are pretty, like, they've kind of come to terms with the fact that that's probably him. And they found some closure. It's been a long time for them. He disappeared in 2013. And I imagine that they had probably long ago come to terms with the fact that he probably was not alive anymore. So, like I said, I've never had anybody, I can't imagine what it must be like to have a family member that is just gone and you don't know what happened to them. So I can sometimes see how, obviously, finding them dead after all this time would be horrible and would be upsetting, but at least you would know. At least you would know what happened to them. So at least you could, like, just close that chapter and, like, move on. I kind of feel like when they're still missing, you're, like, in this weird, like, limbo state. You know what I mean? So I get that would be, like, worse. In some ways, that might be worse than, like, knowing that the person was dead. Because at least, knowing they're dead, that's awful. But it's, like, at least you know that they're gone and, like, you know that they're never coming back. I kind of feel like if they're missing and they maybe, conceivably, could still be alive, then it's going to, like, fuck with your head. So you're going to... The whole time you're going to be like, well, maybe they could still come back. Maybe, you know what I mean? And that would be, like, an awful... I feel like you could never, like, progress or you could never, like, get on with anything. You know what I mean? Because you wouldn't know. So, all right. So the next case that we want to talk about. So like I said, as far as I know, as of February 2022, they haven't completed the DNA. They're pretty sure that it's him because they found all the clothes and stuff. But they haven't released... So he is dead. But they haven't released, like, the way that he died or anything like that. So we don't know what actually happened. But I'm sure that will come as they do more investigation into the remains. So the next case that I want to talk about was Alyssa Turney. Now, we talked about her back on episode 187, which came out March 17th, 2020, on one of our, again, creepy disappearances cases. I feel like we've done, like, 6 volumes. We've done a lot of creepy disappearances shows, because I do, like, 4 or 5 cases on each of those shows, and I think we've done 6 of those. So we talked about Alyssa Turney on our March 17th, 2020 show, episode 187. Now, what ended up happening? Okay, so this happened in 2001. Alyssa Turney was 17 years old. She was junior in high school, and she lived with her stepdad, Michael Turney, and her stepsister, Sarah. Alyssa's mother was dead, and Michael had 3 older sons, but they were, again, older, so they had already moved away. Now, because Alyssa was the stepdaughter and Sarah was the biological daughter, there was some, their relationship with Michael Turney was very different. Obviously, with his biological daughter, he was a lot more laid back, loving, maybe. But because Alyssa was the stepdaughter, for whatever reason, he was very strict. He watched where she was going, like, pretty much all the time. Very uptight about her movements, like, wouldn't let her go here and there, kind of, like, monitored her all the time. So their relationship was very, very strained, to say the least. His excuse for it was, oh, well, she needs more direction in her life. So, you know, my daughter, Sarah, she's got a good head on her shoulders. She can, like, do whatever. But Alyssa, she needs more guidance. So I'm going to, like, watch her like a hawk. Which, if you've ever been the parent of teenagers, or if you've ever been a teenager, you know that doesn't work out the way you think it's going to work out. May 17th, 2001. This was the last day of school before they let out for summer break. Now, on that day, Alyssa's sister, Sarah, who was, again, Michael Turney's biological daughter, she was actually, her school had done like an end of year kind of thing, like at a water park, like in town. And Michael was supposed to pick her up when they came back from the water park at 3 o'clock at the school. But he didn't show up. So Sarah ends up walking to her friend's house, being, you know, she's like, what the fuck? So she goes to wait for him. And so later on, like a couple hours later, her dad finally shows up and says to her when he picks up Sarah, hey, your sister Alyssa is missing. Like, she never came home. So at this point, Sarah calls Alyssa, and she couldn't get in touch with her, like calls her phone. They get back to the house, and Michael says, why don't you go check her bedroom? In Alyssa's bedroom, they found all the stuff that had been in Alyssa's backpack was scattered all on her bed, and her cell phone was left on her dresser. Next to her cell phone, there was a note, and this note said, Dad and Sarah, when you dropped me off at school today, I decided I really am going to California. Sarah, you said you really wanted me gone. Now you have it. Dad, I took $300 from you. That's why I saved my money. That's all this note said. So now Sarah didn't think this was all that weird because Alyssa, because she didn't get along with her stepdad, Michael, had actually been talking about moving out to California to live with her aunt. So she's like, oh, well, maybe she actually did decide to do that. So at this point, though, Michael, the stepdad, supposedly gets worried. He was an ex-cop himself. So he calls the cops and reports Alyssa as a runaway, not as a missing person, as a runaway. So the cops opened a missing persons file, but they didn't really do any follow-up on it because Michael Turney, the stepdad, said, well, I know she's a runaway. I know she's in California. She was planning to go to California and stay with her aunt because me and her didn't get along. So I'm assuming that's where she is, but I'm just, like, reporting it. A week later, Michael, the stepdad, said to the police, I got a call from her between 4 and 5 a.m., and this call supposedly came from Riverside, California. On this call, according to him, Alyssa said, I'm unhappy with my life. You're the reason I left. You suck. And then she hung up. The cops looked into this, but were never able to verify this call and couldn't find a copy of the recording. This was 2001, so I'm not really sure how... You know, nowadays they can, like, track cell phone calls, like, all over the fucking, you know, all over the shit. But I don't know how the shit was in 2001. Now, interestingly, Michael, because he was a weirdo, had a bunch of monitoring equipment around his, so, like, cameras, like, recording, like, audio recording shit, like, all around his house. For whatever reason, because that's a normal thing that you do, apparently. So they asked him about that, the cops, and they said, so did you get a recording of the call then? Because you have all this recording shit around your house. He's like, oh, it wasn't on because it was the middle of the night. Convenient. So, yeah. So, several years go by, as I said, because this was 2001. So, as the years are going on, Michael starts telling his family members and other people who knew Alyssa that he was of the opinion that something terrible had happened to her. He said, this was his story. He said, I got to search for her myself because the cops aren't taking this seriously and they're not looking for her. And he supposedly took a bunch of trips out to California to look for her, and like he made flyers and like handed them out and stuff. His story was that there were these two guys that were in the same, I think it was like an electrical union as him, and that he had done some like whistleblowing shit on them and they were mad. So his story was that they had killed his daughter in retaliation. That's been his story. Like I said, I think I covered this on the last one, but I'm just, catching everybody up on it. In 2006, which is 5 years after she disappeared, the cops get a lead from this guy named Thomas Heimer. Now, he was in a prison in Florida on a murder charge. And he actually sent the cops a letter saying that he had killed Alyssa. Now, so for a long time, they investigated this lead, but they eventually found out it was a hoax. But while they were investigating that particular lead, they found out that a lot of stuff that was going on with, like, the stepdad story was, like, totally not adding up. So they looked back into the case. 7 years at this point, Alyssa had been missing. She hadn't contacted any of her friends. She had not contacted the aunt in California that she was supposedly going to live with. She had $1,800 in her bank account, and it was still there, had not been accessed. Her social security number was unused in 7 years, which means obviously she hadn't tried to apply for school or get a job or anything like that, at least with her, real social security number. And then they also found out that the day she had gone missing, the last day before summer break, 2001, that she hadn't actually been to school all day. What had ended up happening was that she was at school in the morning, and then her stepdad picked her up at lunchtime. And this was corroborated by her boyfriend. And her boyfriend said, yeah, Alyssa told me that she was leaving early, but that she would see me later that night. There was this party that was going on, because like I said, it was end of term. So they were going to have a party, and she said, yeah, I'll be at the party later. My dad's picking me up early. I'm leaving. So that was corroborated by her boyfriend and several of her friends. So what her stepdad said was that, yeah, I picked her up. We were going to go get lunch. And then we got back to the house, and we got in a fight. And then I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, fuck her. And then he went off and, like, ran some errands. They also kind of looked into Michael Turney's past a little bit, and they kind of, like, searched the house and whatnot. They said, this dude, not right. He was super, super paranoid. Like I said, he had, like, cameras all over the house where he filmed everything that was going on in there and out there. He had, like, audio recordings on all the phones and everything. He monitored all of the phone calls, incoming and outgoing, like, everything that was going on inside the house. He was, like, recording it. There was even a hidden camera in the vent of the living room. So he was, like, recording shit that was going on in the house, which, like I said, not normal. Now the cops, once they found this out, were like, well, can we see the videotapes from the day that Alyssa disappeared? And he said, oh, I already looked at them and there was nothing on them. Again, suspicious. They're like, okay, well, what about the audio tapes? And he's like, oh, that day, though, the recorder was turned off.
It's a lot of damn experiments. There are a lot of excuses, I mean.
Damn, yeah.
A lot of excuses.
Which, like I said, I mean, the cops are suspicious. Like, they can't just arrest anybody on anything. Like, obviously, this guy looks sus as fuck. But they can't just, like, arrest you unless they have, like, some actual evidence. So, at this point, though, because he'd been so cagey, they were like, they got probable cause, so they actually did search the house. While they were searching the house, they found 26 homemade pipe bombs and a 90-page manifesto. Always got to watch the dudes that are like writing manifestos. In the
I need to write a manifesto.
You need to write a manifesto.
Yeah.
That's a red flag. It's all the red
write a
flags are just
manifesto.
waving. He's gonna write a manifesto.
Yeah.
Tom's manifesto.
Yeah, I don't know what I'd say.
What are you gonna say in your manifesto? You know what though? Don't take this the wrong way, but you're totally the type of dude that would write a manifesto.
Okay, I'll write a manifesto.
Well, because sometimes you go off on like these rants and stuff, and I'm like, that kind of sounds like a manifesto.
Fuck this bitch.
Like you could just like write that down. That would be a manifesto. So in this manifesto, he said that Alyssa, his stepdaughter, had run away, and he kind of like laid out his theory that these two guys from this union that he used to work for, because he was a whistleblower, they were like taking revenge on him by killing his stepdaughter. He also said in the manifesto that he had killed these two men, but police looked into that lead and said the two men were dead, but they died of natural causes. He didn't kill them, unless he was like really, really sneaky about it, which I'm not buying. So the cops they also found like a whole bunch of paperwork and a whole bunch of like audio and videotapes, but they didn't really find anything from the day that Alyssa went missing. They did, however, find some letters that Alyssa had written saying that her stepdad had molested her.
Yeah. Well, we knew that was going to happen.
And they also found some weird like parent-child contracts, which apparently he had forced her to sign, saying that, no, my stepdad totally didn't molest me, sign here, kind of thing.
He killed her.
So there's that.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and they interviewed all of her friends and shit like that again, and they said, oh yeah, we've all heard, and even a teacher at the school said, yeah, she had told us that her stepdad was molesting her, and had told us about a couple of incidents where that happened.
Yeah.
So, okay, so they haul Michael Turney in for the pipe bombs. And he actually pled guilty to that. So he ended up serving 10 years in prison for that. And he underwent like mental health thing, and they found that he had like paranoid personality disorder, clearly. And he had to go to like mental health treatments. But August 21st, 2020, he was officially arrested for the disappearance of Alyssa Turney. Now, they are going for second-degree murder charges because they don't have a body. So they're calling this a no-body homicide. They are absolutely thinking that he was responsible for her death because they're assuming that she's dead. They don't have a body, but they're still trying to go after him for murder anyway. But he was in prison for the pipe bombs, thankfully.
No, he killed her.
But yeah, well, everybody thought that. But like I said, they didn't really have any evidence to like prove it. You know, when they searched the house and they found that other shit, they're like, oh, thank God, we can like put him in prison for some other stuff while we're like, but they still haven't found her body. They don't know where she's at, but they're assuming that he killed her.
She called him on something and he's like, bitch, you gotta go. And he killed her. That's what happened.
I think even
she was gonna go.
I think even when we covered this case the first time, like back, I think it was in spring of 2020, you know, that everybody was pretty sure that her stepdad had done it, but they couldn't prove it.
He got rid of the body.
Because he was like super fucking not helpful about the shit.
He did something with the body. You'll probably never find it, but no, he did it. Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure everybody thought that. I don't think they ever had any other suspect. It's just, like I said, that they can't really prove it. So I like that he finally got
How old was she again?
17.
Yeah. Yeah, he killed her.
But, yeah, he finally got arrested for it officially. Like I said, they don't have a body, so they're trying to go for second-degree murder, though. It's very hard to prove when you don't have a body, but I don't know.
No, it's not as hard as you think.
I mean, all the circumstantial shit...
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like it's
jury will get him.
Probably. I kind of feel like. Well, because he was in prison for other shit too. He's clearly a crazy person.
Yeah.
And there's like a history there, so you know.
Well, they were saying that the molestation was going on. That's enough right there.
Yeah, you know.
There were witnesses that said that she said that.
Yeah.
And it's just
a lot of witnesses.
It would all
like I said, teachers, friends, boyfriend. Everybody said that she had told them
like, that. That's what that was.
Yeah. All right, talk about something. I gotta pee.
All right, I'm sitting here looking at the cat, and that cat is getting fat.
She's not fat.
She's cute, but she is getting fat. No, your belly is starting to stick out on the sides. I'm just talking to you, Pook.
Oh, okay.
I'm just talking to you, Pook, because you just run around and you eat whenever you want to eat. See, and I don't shut you off. She asks for the damn chew sticks, these little tuna. I think they're made by Sheba. She loves those things. I give her 4 of those a night. She'll beg, give me a stick. I give her a stick like that. She'll chew it down to nothing until it's about like 1 inch long, and she'll sit there and just lick the end of it forever. I'm like, come on. And if I drop it on the ground, she goes, ah! She gets mad and runs off because she wants me to just sit there and hold it where she can just lick the end of it. She's funny. She's fucking hilarious. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Got a lot of people in there, 41 people. Tyler, the guy says, yeah, I remember this dude. He was crazy. Crazy ass piece of work. Yeah, that dude did that. Murder Hornets is in. Okay. Rebecca's in there. Rebecca Dunn. Seth says that dude sounds guilty as fuck. That's right, Seth. That dude did that shit.
What's up, Pokey? Is Daddy being mean to you?
Nah.
Is he body shaming you?
Yeah.
Are you body
Seth says, I can't follow up vomit with more alcohol. However, I can drink again with a hangover fixes it straight away.
Yeah, hair of the dog.
Yeah,
That's a thing for a reason.
No, I can throw up like it didn't ever happen and I feel good. I'll just get something
It
to eat.
depends. Like sometimes I can. Like I've been at iBar, and sometimes if I don't eat before I go, or like just eat like a little bit before I go, and then I drink a lot, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm gonna like puke. But then I'll go puke and then I'll be fine. Yeah. But then usually after that, I'll still drink, but I'll like, I'll do like drink water, which actually I'm kind of starting to do that from like the start now. That's always a better.
We'll be headed home. We'll go to McDonald's and I'll get like a damn Big Mac. I'll get 2 or 3 Big Macs if I can. I don't care. I don't need the fries. I'll steal some of Jenny's fries if I have to.
Yeah, of course you will. And I'm just like, God damn it, get your own. Because you know how I do.
Yeah.
We actually, the last time we went out, we went to the Starry Night show last week. We were actually going to, it wasn't super late when we left because they played at like 10 or 11. So they were done by like midnight. And then Tom was like, oh, we should, I mean, we weren't hammered. I stuck to beer. I didn't even like drink hard liquor all night. I had like maybe 3 or 4 beers. So I was like tipsy, but not inebriated at all. So he was kind of like, oh, we should go to like Mannequins on the way home because it's on the way home. But by the time we got back to Sanford, it was like 1:30 and they were going to close in like half an hour. And he's just like, nah, there's not any point in it. But it was Saturday night, so the McDonald's was open. Because I think you guys said, like last time we were coming from Memento Mori, which is Monday nights, the McDonald's by our old house isn't open 24 hours on Monday nights anymore, probably because you came there, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like worth keeping it open. But I was like, well, it's Saturday night. Maybe it's open. And it was. So I was like, woohoo. So I got a quarter pounder and fries. I was like, yay. And like iced coffee. And then, so I eat that. And then you come home. I take 3 or 4 aspirin. And then I get up at like 4 or 5 in the morning to go to the bathroom. And then I take 2 more aspirin. Then I wake up the next morning and I'm fine. Usually. Although I will be very, very, very sleepy the next day about 3 or 4 p.m. Like the next afternoon, like I'll feel fine in the morning and everything like that. But then like 3 or 4 afternoon, like in the afternoon comes around and then I'm just like, oh, I'm getting so sleepy. And like my eyes start to close. But there's that. Yeah, Tyler says, I agree with what Tom said. She did something he perceived as a threat to his authority and he killed her. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's probably what happened. And like I said, I think that's what everybody thought happened. It's just that they couldn't really prove it. So at least they finally arrested him for it. I kind of hope he gets killed because he sounds like a fucking nutcase.
Pookie's out there yelling at me.
Yeah, she's always
I wanted to comment about this shirt.
Oh, yeah, there you go. That was the opening band when we saw Starry Night, because we were just talking about that. That was the opening band, Laboratory.
Yeah, it's called Laboratory.
Laboratory.
And it was these 2 girls and a dude, and they're up there singing. It's almost kind of like a real dark version of KMFDM. And they had this little girl. She's probably about 4'11", maybe 5 feet tall, skinny, big booty. Fucking, she was down in a grave, and she comes up out of there and fucking... And she's singing with her damn contacts on, being a vampire princess. It was a good little show. I thought it was fun. And I go in the back, and they're selling merchandise, and this is the ugliest shirt I ever saw. But I don't understand it. That shit is fucking crazy looking. And I said, I'm going to buy that.
Like I said, it looks okay from far away. But it's hand-drawn.
It's hand-drawn. I've never seen anything. I mean, I guess it kind of looks like modern art in a way. But to me, that's not branding, but I still bought it, so I guess I was the sucker.
Because we like the band.
I like the band.
We like to support, local bands
just
and
support
shit.
the local band.
We got an A Starry Night shirt,
It's
too,
called Laboratory.
but it's white.
Laboratory. DJ Maniac might trip out on it, I don't know.
Because all the A Starry Night shirts, I think all their black ones were gone.
Yeah, so we had to buy a white one.
So we had to buy a white one.
Yeah.
So
they didn't know that we made shirts. And I said, dude, I make shirts. He said, you make shirts? I said, yeah, I can make that shirt.
I mean, they do big runs, so I'm not really sure.
Know.
But I mean, because we can just do one at a time.
Yeah, I told him, I said, look, we can do small runs of
I said, if you want limited
30,
edition,
40, 20, 30, 40.
then yeah, we're your guys.
We can do that.
If you want 800, then fuck that. Right. I'm not doing that shit. I have to do one at a time. Just doing the shirts for Absolution, I was just kind of I was flipping out. And that was what, 80 shirts, 100 shirts,
80,
something like
80
that. I think it was 80. And that was a fucking nightmare. But that was just because it was last minute. They didn't finalize the design until 2 days before the actual event.
Right.
And so I was fucking scrambling to get the shit done. Because like I said, we make the screens. You can only make one at a time. I don't have a shop, you know what I mean?
Right.
We just do them in here. Zach says, ooh, we have Zach showed up. Salutations, bitches. I just made my way back to the hotel in the French Quarter where I'm eating my ass oyster po' boy. Wait, are you eating someone's ass or are you just eating an oyster po' boy or both? Let's find out. All right. So, gotta get Tom a skinny puppy shirt. Yeah, you should probably have one.
Yeah, give me one.
You don't have one, do you? I don't think I have one either. Now that I'm thinking about it. Do I? I don't have one. I have so many fucking t-shirts. I don't think I have a skinny puppy one. I think I did. I used to, but I think it fell apart. All right. So the next case we're going to talk about is, and this is one that a lot of people sent me shit about, the Sherri Papini case. We originally talked about this on, I think, the same show that we talked about the Brandon Lawson one, episode 187, March 17th, 2020. How long have y'all been online today? Let's see. An hour and 47 minutes.
We're still at the beginning of the show, really.
I mean, we've talked about 2 cases, but I still have a couple. I still have a few more. So you didn't. I mean, you missed some stuff.
Did Zach show up?
Yeah.
Oh, Zach show up. What's up,
That's
Zach?
what I just said.
Okay, yeah.
He doesn't. He doesn't listen to me.
I was answering messages. It was.
DJ Maniac says, I have a Skinny Puppy tour shirt from the show I worked 17 years ago. It goes for about $500 now. Holy
I ain't
shit.
playing that.
Yeah.
Okay, is that DJ Maniac saying that?
Yeah.
You know, DJ, you remember the fucking Skinny Puppy song where they're out there fucking dancing and fucking they're break dancing out in the middle of the day in fucking Detroit. It's hit me in the streets, hit me in the streets, hit me. Yeah, I don't remember the name of that song, but that was right out. That fucking video was shot right outside a City Club in Detroit, and fucking, it's just funny to see that shit during the daytime. Kind of funny. That was some '90s shit, but that's where I used to hang out. Used to see Skinny Puppy there all the time. They were older than me though. I didn't hang out with them. Those motherfuckers were too cool back in the day. You know,
they were too cool for.
I was fucking. My goth points were low back in those days. I was kind of new to the scene. You know, that was.
Everyone was like.
That was even before I was in the army. That was fucking late '80s. That was like 87, 88,
I mean,
89.
I probably would have looked askance at you.
89, maybe 88, 89.
Because I'd been like, ew, who's this newbie?
You weren't even born.
Yes, in 89. Yes, I was.
You were like back at home.
I was 17.
17, all right.
In 1989.
Okay, all right.
I was a junior in high school. What do you I graduated in 1990.
City Club, the Shelter, and St. Andrews Hall. If you fucking look in the First and Last and Always album, in the inner sleeve, when you opened up, you see the Sisters of Mercy, and behind them is a sign that says Detroit's Finest Theaters. That was right next to the Majestic Theater back in those days. But in those days, I was in Brazil. They were there a little bit before I was in Detroit. But a couple years later, I was there. Detroit was a fucking cool place in the mid to late 80s. It was fun. It was like something. That's why The Crow, the first movie, The Crow, that's why it was fucking set there. It was fucking bizarre, man. It was like Beirut. It was a city just being destroyed. A gigantic fucking big city with a very low population. There weren't very many people in it, and it was mostly abandoned. And you only really kind of had two different kind of people there. You had fucking gangsters, black gangsters, and white goths. And they didn't even fucking mix. There was no... I could walk around it. I lived on Cass Corridor for a while, which was like one of the most dangerous places in Detroit. I could walk around and fucking never have anybody fuck with me because they ignored me. I was white. But they would kill each other. I'd fucking walk out in the back and fucking remember one time I went out behind at the Wellesley apartment building where I lived in fucking 2nd West Hancock off Cass Corridor. Came out and saw some fucking black dude's fucking frozen ass feet coming up out of the damn dumpster, and somebody took his fucking shoes off, just these fucking socks. They were killing each other and throwing each other into the dumpsters. It was a drug war. It was some fucking wild shit. I heard it's calmed down a lot, but it's just the way it was back then. That's why RoboCop was supposed to be happening in Detroit.
RoboCop was supposed to fix it.
Yeah, RoboCop was supposed to fix that shit. It was wild. It was wild. But, it was good times. It was good times for fucking the goths that were living there. And from my understanding, fucking from the black dudes, it was a good time for them too. It was just... Yeah, they were shooting each other up, but it was the drug trade. It was like a gangster.
Well, as long as you didn't get shot.
As long as you didn't get shot.
It's all good.
Right. It was kind of like,
every day is a new day.
Yeah.
I didn't get shot.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like fucking Prohibition days between fucking, Italian mobsters. It was like, for them, that's the way it was. But they were having fun, we were having fun. But they were getting killed, though. But, hey, they were willingly going into the game.
I mean, that was kind of like
that's
their
what
own
gangsters
shit.
did.
They weren't really fucking with people that weren't involved with their shit.
No, they weren't. I got to hand them to that. Very rarely did an innocent person get killed. It was usually somebody that was in the gang. It was between gangsters.
Well, that's kind of why, like I said, when I wrote my Faceless Villain books, I was like, yeah, if I wanted to do like every unsolved murder, there would be like 40 bajillion.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are, like you said, gang related. You don't know who did it, but you know that that's why it happened. And, because they kept that shit
between them. I would run into gangsters all the time and crackheads trying to sell me shit, and they were cool to me. Because I was no threat to them. White boy's not a threat to them. Yeah, you had crazies every now and then, but I didn't run across them. And as long as you weren't in the game, as long as you weren't a white cop or you weren't a fucking enemy gangster, you were all right. Bought my first pistol in Detroit from a crackhead. It was a CZ-75. It was missing the fucking barrel and the firing pin. It was sus as fuck. I was like, wait a minute, what? Because they thought that you could trace firing pin and fucking rifling,
Well, they're just, just
they were trying to be safe, I guess. It was a Tanfaligo fucking CZ-75, an Italian one. I eventually put it back together. I don't know how dirty that shit was, but it ended up back in Mississippi, and I fucking sold it off to a good owner. But that's just the way it was back then. Just good times. Good times.
Hugo says if you like The Crow, watch Dark City. I agree.
Yeah, I've heard about it.
You've never seen Dark City, have you? Oh, you should.
The Crow was a documentary. If Graham was in here, he fucking worked there as a law enforcement agent, federal law. He'll tell you that, yeah, that's a documentary. That's the way it was. So a lot of the crazy shit I tell you people, is rooted in my background, being Brazil, Detroit, military stuff. I'm not bullshitting. There's a lot of shit I haven't told you guys about, just not for public. But, yeah. Yeah, this is not fantasy. That was Wild West shit happening. You know? And, but like Jenny said, and like I said, a lot of it was voluntary. You know? If you asked for trouble, you got it. If you kept your nose clean, you were okay, for the most part. It was rare that an innocent person got killed.
I mean, it does happen.
It does happen,
but
it's happening more now when some of the shit that I hear about happening in Chicago, where just some little kids are getting killed in crossfires. That's fucking terrible. But that's not what most of it was in Detroit. In Detroit, it was a little more targeted.
Yeah, Rebecca was saying, I love the movie The Crow, but I felt like I needed a shower after seeing it. That movie and its tone, to me, epitomizes the 90s.
Yes. And
that's the way that's like the 90s in one movie.
Yeah, and that's the way Detroit was back in those days, and Devil's Night was a reality. That was the night that you would burn down fucking abandoned houses. And that's why Detroit got demolished. Most of it's gone, because it was abandoned. Everybody got chased out of it.
You totally should see Dark City, though.
Yeah, I want to see that. Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe you haven't seen it because it's exactly all the kind of shit that you would like.
Yeah. Okay. I want to see it.
I've seen it a couple of times. It's really good, and I feel like a lot of people. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit like under the radar. Mm-hmm. Like I do see some cult classic type of people talking about it, but I feel like it doesn't get talked about as much as like The Crow or something like that. But it's like it's similar vibe, but it's like a lot more sci-fi.
I lived in the Wellesley. It was an apartment building, fucking 2nd West Hancock off fucking Cass. And then for a couple months I lived at another place. I don't remember what. It was a cattle slaughterhouse, and I forgot what. It was a converted cattle slaughterhouse. And that one was only $250 a month. I could drive my 73 Mercury Montego into a cattle slaughter elevator and have it go up to the 3rd floor where my apartment was.
See, I love that idea.
And it was like
I want to drive into my house.
It was like some shit out of Batman.
That's excellent.
And I'd have fucking homeless goth girls living in there with me for a while. They'd only be for a couple days, and they'd go in and out. And the layout didn't make any sense, and there was no way to heat it. That's really why I left it. There was no way to heat it.
Well, yeah, you're gonna freeze your ass off.
Froze your fucking ass off. It got cold as fuck.
I mean, that's Michigan. That's no joke.
There was no way to heat.
People freeze to death.
That's why it was so cheap, man. And there was no way to heat it. And I fucking ended up in my fucking living in one little room, even though there were like 7 or 8 other ones. Living in one little room with an electric heater.
It's like Fallout.
I gotta get the fuck out of here. I gotta get the fuck out. So I fucking talked to Steve, and he goes, "No, I'll get you in at the Wellesley. We got a friend that's a manager there." And I fucking went into the Wellesley. It was civilized there, but fucking I lived about 8-9 months at the Wellesley, and then I joined the Army. Well, went back to Mississippi and then joined the Army.
You could have just brought in a barrel and like set a fire in it, like the bums.
But before winter hit, the place was awesome. I just wasn't thinking ahead.
I said, Michigan.
I was a teenager. I wasn't thinking ahead.
You're not from the United States, Michigan gets
20 degrees below zero.
Stupid cold.
It's Siberia of America.
Literally, if you don't have heat, you will die in your apartment. You will freeze to your fucking floor if you don't have.
There was no central heat.
Right.
In that particular place. That's why it was only like $250.
Like I said,
I think it was $250 or $275 a month, and it was fucking huge. It was like something out of damn Batman. It was a goth lair. It was a cattle slaughterhouse.
Tom had a lair.
Yeah, but I was only there for about 4 or 5 months. And the fucking heat.
It got too cold.
It got too damn cold.
You're like, yep.
It got too damn cold.
I thought it was cool because it was super cheap and there's no heat. I didn't think about
until winter came, and I'm getting the fuck out. Steve got me out of there.
Fuck this.
Steve got me out of there.
Oh my god, I'm gonna die of exposure in my own fucking apartment. Yeah, I get it. All right.
I didn't have a sleeping bag. I was just on a fucking mattress on the floor, fucking wrapped up with blankets, and she was 20 degrees below zero. I had this shit. I gotta get out of here.
You didn't like start a fire in the middle of your apartment?
No.
I would have. Burn some furniture?
I wasn't properly prepared for the winter in that place. I was young. I didn't have the foresight. I didn't realize what was coming.
Yeah,
That was the day. Those were the
like
days.
I said,
though.
I mean,
Yeah.
really any kind of like Midwest, that winter there is like no joke.
Yeah. Tyler the God guy says, Tom chilling in the God Bat Cave is a level of alpha we all wish we achieved. Yeah. Yeah, but I was like fucking 19. I was like 19 at that time. And didn't know any better.
I mean, it's more fun to like talk about in hindsight than actually like living through it.
No.
Yeah.
If you'd moved me back into time with the wisdom that I have now, I would have been able to play my hand a lot better. But everybody says that. When you're young, you're dumb.
Yeah.
Fucking when you get older, you know how to play your hand a lot better. And I would have fucking made more money and outfitted that place to where winters would have been survivable. You know.
But see, that's kind of the bitch of human life, isn't it? Is that when you're old, you're like, man, if I could go back in time.
Yeah, I could have fixed it.
I could have done it, but you can't.
Right.
You can't.
No.
That's just. And it's funny because you can tell younger people, because I've tried to. I mean, I try not to because I know how that sounds. But you try to tell younger people, hey, don't do this, that, and the other. But it's like they're just going to do what they're going to do. And honestly, I know they're going to do what they're going to do because I was the same way. You're not going to listen to older people. Once you get to be old, you know. And it's like, just don't bother. Don't bother telling younger people, don't do this, that, and the other, because they're going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? They're going to do it anyway. I did it anyway. Everybody does it anyway. That's just how it goes. It's been like that since humans evolved from fucking apes. So you can't change it. You can try, but you can't change it. All right, so let's talk about the Sherri Papini case because we talked about this as a missing persons case, even though again this was very suspicious. We talked about this back in March of 2020 on episode 187. I can't remember exactly like what all we covered on this, so I'm just gonna like give you a rundown of it because there's been some like a definitive solution to this case, let's say, which everybody kind of knew was happening, but it's been definitively proved at this point. So this happened November 2nd, 2016. Sherri Papini's husband, Keith, comes home from work, and his house in Mountain Gate, California, nobody home. His wife isn't home, and his kids are not home, which is unusual. So he calls the daycare where his kids are, and they're like, yeah, they're still here. Like, nobody came to pick them up. Usually the mom comes to pick them up. So he decides he's going to run the Find My iPhone app on his wife's phone. So he does that, and he finds the phone, and it's located near Sunrise Drive. This is where Sherri would usually go to do her daily jog. So he goes there, and about a couple of feet off the road, he finds her phone and the earbuds. He says they were very neatly, as though they were planted there, left in the dirt on the side of the road. The phone was playing their wedding song, which was Everything by Michael Bublé. Bublé? Is that how you pronounce that? I'm not really sure. I know that I've seen that dude's name, but I don't know how you pronounce it. And I don't know that song. But that was their wedding song. So it was playing on there on a loop. He said, even at the time, in 2016, it looked like the phone had been placed there as, like, on purpose. And he thought that was weird. So they start looking into Sherri's background. She was 34 when she disappeared. So when they start looking into her background, they found, like, a bunch of weird shit. So they look into her phone contacts, and they find, like, something very strange. There are two men in her phone contacts that are listed under women's names, which seems very fishy. One of these men apparently had come to visit her in 2011, and they kind of had a lot of, like, flirty text messages going back and forth throughout the years. So there was that. The second dude said when they found him, they said, yeah, I met her at this youth program in 2000, and we dated for a time. Now, this guy, very interestingly, said that Sherri was, quote-unquote, attention hungry and, quote, fabricated stories of being the victim of abuse from her family, father, and then him, like the boyfriend, after they broke up. So he said that during the investigation. And this is while she's still missing. Now, so yeah. At this point, like, okay, so everyone's kind of like wondering what has happened. Could it be that she was actually kidnapped? Could it be that she disappeared to get attention? Because when they look into her background, a lot of people said, yeah, she was like kind of the sort of person that would like make up like some crazy stories like for attention. So it just seems like another one of those. And one of her main things was like she would make up stories about being abused like as a child and stuff, like to get attention. 3 weeks after she disappeared, Thanksgiving Day, 2016, she suddenly turns up again. The California Highway Patrol, they responded to a call on Interstate 5 near Woodland. A bunch of people had called 911 about a woman wandering onto the highway. This was Sherri Papini. When they found her, her hair had been like hacked off, all fucked up, like all chunky. There was a chain around her waist. She was very, very skinny. She was already skinny, but she had lost a lot of weight. And she was covered in a bunch of burns, bruises, and she had like a weird brand on her right shoulder.
Yeah, what year was this again?
2016.
I remember when this happened.
2016. This was a very, very high profile case.
Yeah, I remember when this happened.
So, so they bring her in and they start questioning her. They've done like a bunch of like interviews with her, but this was her story. Her story was that on the day she disappeared, she'd gone for a run as she usually did. She said that there was this SUV, like black or dark blue or whatever, and it was kind of following her. And this SUV had 2 Hispanic women in it. She said one of the women like beckoned her over and said that she needed help with something. So Sherri goes over there to help them. And then she says that one of the women pulled a gun on her and like forced her into the truck. At which point Sherri said, well, I'm going to leave my phone here as like evidence. You know what I mean? So that's kind of, she thought she was like thinking ahead. She leaves the phone there where her husband found it. Now, she said that even though she was very, very scared at being kidnapped, that she slept most of the way to where they were going, so she didn't exactly know where she was taken. She said she didn't remember being taken out of the vehicle. She said, the first thing I remember is waking up in a room. She had zip ties around her wrists and was in different clothes to what she had been out in, like jogging in. She didn't say that they'd given her any drugs, although it was noted that she asked the police, can you lose your memory from being tased? And the cop said, probably not.
No.
But interesting that she asked that. I'm just saying. Now, she says, while she was in captivity during this 3 weeks, she says these 2 women mostly spoke in Spanish. She didn't know what they were saying. She said that she was kept in a locked room and they were playing loud music from a speaker that was like, so they, couldn't hear her and she couldn't hear them. But she also said, despite all this, that anytime she made a noise, the women would come running into her room and would threaten her. One of their threats being, we're going to sell you to a cop. That was one of the threats, she said.
Like a cop would buy a woman?
I mean,
okay.
Maybe. There have been a couple cops that were serial killers, but I'm just saying that would be very, very rare.
All right.
I'm going to sell you to a cop. So after they find Sherri, like I said, 3 weeks after she disappeared, and like I said, when she turned up, and I hate to like fucking cast aspersions because I know people get abducted and they get like fucking fucked up and there's all kind of like crazy reasons for it. So there's no reason to immediately suspect, but this woman's story was pretty suspicious from the outset. And I kind of feel like people thought that even in 2016. It sounded a little implausible. So they find her, they put her in the hospital because she's kind of fucked up. Now they sent her clothes that she was wearing when they found her to the lab for DNA testing. September 2019, the DNA comes back. Obviously, her DNA is on it, but they found a DNA profile of an unknown male. So they put that through for familial testing, which is one of those things. It's like I said, it's similar to how they caught the Golden State Killer, where it's like not that person's DNA, but if another person related to them has like uploaded DNA somewhere or something like that. So they can like triangulate where the DNA came from. So they did that. They found a match. This match, the DNA belonged to an ex-boyfriend of hers, which they thought was very interesting. So in August of 2020, and this is where the update starts because this is several months after we first talked about this case. August 2020, they actually went to this ex-boyfriend whose DNA they had found in her clothes and said, "What's the fucking deal?" So he said, "Okay, I'll tell you guys what happened." He says that what happened, I helped Sherri run away. This is from the FBI affidavit. This is what he says in his interview. He says, yeah, I knew her since we were teenagers. He says she called me up out of the blue, quote unquote, and claimed that her husband was beating her up and that she was trying to escape. So this ex-boyfriend, who is unnamed in all the sources, he says, okay, so what he did was he drove from his house in Southern California and he drove to Redding, California on November 2nd, 2016, the day she disappeared, to pick her up. And apparently this was engineered ahead of time because she was out on her morning jog and then she got in the car with him, according to him. And she left her phone there for evidence. He says that she slept most of the drive back, back of her car. Slept all the way back to his house in Southern California. So basically, he says that she stayed at his apartment for all the weeks that she was gone. She wouldn't eat very much. She cut her own hair. Because remember when I said when they found her hair was all fucked up? He says toward the end of the stay, he asked him to brand her with a crafting tool that they bought at Hobby Lobby. So there was that. He also says he drove her back toward Redding and dropped her off where she said to drop her off. So she apparently engineered this whole thing. So because of this interview, like the cops got all the cell phone records from this time period. This apparently corroborates his story. The two of them were using prepaid phones to communicate back and forth so that there wouldn't be a record. But as far as I know, they can still track that down if they know what they're doing because it's still out there somewhere. So this affidavit also says the family, this is fucked up. So the family had started a GoFundMe because she was missing. They thought she was missing, legit. They thought she'd been kidnapped. And this GoFundMe raised more than $49,000.
Oh, shit.
Was
that the motive?
See, okay, it might have been monetary, but it might have been allegedly. I don't know. But a lot of people they interviewed about her, after this whole kind of thing broke, was that she was very, attention seeking. Yep. So it might have been for monetary gain as a secondary, but I kind of feel like maybe she's one of those people that needs to be the center of attention all the time.
Okay.
So it might be that. So it's because they said even before she was trying to make money on the shit, she was always kind of saying how she was abused as a child and she was this, that, and the other. She was always being
right.
Yeah. So she always kind of had that thing where she had to be, she was starved for attention.
She's a bullshit artist.
Yeah. So there was that. So, yeah, so the GoFundMe made $49,000, and that ended up paying a bunch of the Papini's credit card bills and quote unquote personal expenses. Also, the FBI investigators who are looking into this case, they also said that Sherri actually applied for and got more than $30,000 from the California Victim Compensation Board, and that she actually ended up using that money to buy therapy for herself and new Venetian blinds for her house and shit like that. So That's some bullshit right there. Because, like, somebody who actually needed that money could have used that money, and then this bitch fucking used it. So, at this point, the FBI are kind of like, okay, well, this woman obviously engineered this whole stunt to make money and to draw attention to herself, you know, I don't know if in that order or in a different order. But her family, it must be said, have denied the allegations, as they would, I don't know, allegedly. Like I said, it's all, like, still under investigation. Her family came out and said, "We love Sherri and are appalled by the way in which law enforcement ambushed her that afternoon, like the day that they caught her, in a dramatic and unnecessary manner in front of her children." So they got, like, kind of outraged about it. But I will say, March 9th, 2022, which was only a couple of weeks ago as we're live streaming, Papini, they actually did arrest her, like, on charges of shit. But on March 9th, they released her from jail before her trial because she is going to stand trial for mail fraud and lying to a federal officer because they think that her whole deal was engineered in order to make money or, again, just to, like, draw attention to herself. So she was put in jail for a short time. She was arrested. She is going to stand trial. But she was released on March 9th on a $120,000 bond, and she had to surrender her passport so she could go anyplace. She didn't have any comment. Her lawyer didn't have any comment. So her trial is pending. But yeah, she is probably going to get in big trouble for this fucking stunt that she pulled because think of all the resources that she used up that, like, people that actually needed it could have used. It's shitty. You know what I mean? If that's true, that's shitty.
I remember when this case went down, I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, you know, that sounds kind of wild, but shit like that does happen. Maybe, you know, they were going to sell her or something.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and that's what I mean, and that's, in a way, that's what makes cases like this, like, makes me madder, because shit like this does happen in real life. And when you pull crap like this and you fake it,
you gotta pay.
Then you're making it harder for people whose crazy shit like that actually does happen to. Right. Then you're making it harder for other people to believe that and to get help because everyone's gonna think you're bullshitting just like that bitch did.
Yeah, when you fake some shit.
So that's like, that makes it doubly worse, in my opinion.
When you fake some shit like this, you gotta pay.
That's what I mean. That shit's not cool.
You gotta go to jail for that.
I mean, come on. Yeah. Like, look, everybody wants money. We all want that. Right. But come on. God damn it. It's like, that just makes me so mad. And it's just kind of like...
You're muddying the waters.
That's what I mean.
You're fucking other people over.
Yeah. And probably you don't think about it like that because you're, like, self-centered. But, yeah, you're fucking other people over. Like, people who bad shit happens to them. And maybe that's, like, a crazy fucking story like that. And now you come forward with it, and no one's gonna believe you because of this bullshit.
And then you're coming out and go, well, you know, those Mexicans did it. With shit, now you're fucking making the Mexicans look bad on the back of something you just fucking made up.
Right. You know? That's what I mean. That was just like that bitch that drowned her own kids in the car, and then said 2 black men did it.
Yeah, the blacks did it. Yeah.
Man, don't do that shit. Come on.
Yeah. When you said that, it made me think of Shatner.
Why?
Because Shat said he found his wife drowned in a damn pool.
We should do a show about that.
We're going to do that. I don't think Shat killed her. But he didn't sound legit fucking when he was calling the cops. I found her. He found his wife floating in a damn pool.
That's right. I had forgotten about that until you said something.
And they were having problems. But a lot of couples that have been together for a long time are having problems. But...
That's what I mean. You can't really... Like, when somebody dies, like, in a way that looks accidental... Yeah, I mean, obviously, I know the cops have to look at every single thing. But like you said, any couple that's been together for that long...
Yeah, anything longer than 5-6 years...
Right, you're going to have problems. Everybody has problems. We're humans.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to look into that. But you can't, like... lean too much on that either, because that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to kill a motherfucker.
Wouldn't that be a trip if Shat fucking killed his wife?
We were talking about that the other day. We were in the car the other day, and I don't know how we got on the subject, but we were talking about that case.
Yeah, like what happened if it turned out that Shat did kill his wife?
What if he actually did?
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I mean, she did die in the pool. But like I said, people do drown accidentally. Like, shit happens.
There's no evidence. I mean, I lean more towards he didn't have anything to do with it.
I mean, it might have just been, maybe she, was drunk, or maybe she was on the drug, or maybe she felt...
She was into alcohols and pills, and it was out in California, they're partiers. He had a fucking pool out in the back. It's plausible that it was an accident.
That's what I mean.
We don't know. You don't know. I'm gonna give Shat the benefit of the doubt. He didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, and
until more evidence.
Well, it's one of those things where, and I think we've talked about this on a few cases. I think we talked about this on like the Madeline McCann show and stuff like that. And I kind of feel like there's a thing too where, especially like when a child disappears or gets killed, everybody's first instinct is to like demonize the parents for whatever reason. Just like when somebody dies that's married to somebody famous, and it's like everyone's going to demonize the husband or wife or whatever. But it's kind of like, unless it looks legit, like somebody's actually murdered, I'm reserving judgment. You know what I mean? Because accidents do happen.
Now, James said, wasn't like the third wife? Yeah, probably was. But, he's Hollywood. That's how they were,
Yeah, and like, that's sketch, but it's like, that's kind of like not that weird.
No,
like,
that's Hollywood.
I mean, Hollywood marriages tend not to last because...
They're just dating.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, they don't last because you're not together a lot. Yeah. I mean, you're usually working like in other parts of the country. You're like apart for like months at a time. So
now, my friend Khan of Aztlan, not his real name, but that is his title. He is the Khan of Aztlan, the nation that will probably soon appear one day once the people get their fucking land back, okay, and the union is dissolved. But he says, well, I'm just saying the third world is all about fucking people over for the most part. Just saying, if you're gonna walk the walk, you better fucking talk the talk, because here you get your ass torched. I agree. Okay. Whatever. I don't really know exactly what you're talking about, Con, but I'm going to go ahead and agree with you.
Oh, I thought
that's the way it is. No, I didn't know exactly what he's talking about. I don't know what he's referring to, but yeah, my time in Brazil will fucking tell you that yeah, that's the way it is. But, you know what I mean? These tenderfoot North Americans are not yet fucking fully fucking informed about that shit. That fucking, if you're gonna talk the talk, you better fucking understand how to walk the walk.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you can't like jump to conclusions either.
Right.
Just because and if something looks like an accident,
right,
unless there's a lot of motive behind there, more than they were having problems, because like I said, that's
now Rebecca says most Hollywood marriages don't last because they're arranged marriages for promotion within management. Fact. I doubt it. I'd have to fucking see
well, I kind of feel like that might have been more the case back in the day.
Back in the day.
Like, especially when they were trying to cover up the gay.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, we don't want this actor, like, everybody, like, there are all these rumors that he's gay, so we have to, like, marry him off to somebody.
One of our subscribers here who's a regular, he's never on here live, but he always gets back with me after the show, is Brian. And Brian and I came up in military school together, and he works in Hollywood and done a lot of movies, okay? And, you know, he did fucking the VFW, did fucking Gina Carano flicks, did that last Shut-In. He done a lot of fucking cool movies. Did fucking the one with Crossell, the one with the cannibals. What was that called?
Bone Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk. I'd have to ask him about it, but he hasn't mentioned anything about arranged marriages. I would tend to think that fucking, for the most part, Hollywood people marry each other upon impulse. You're dealing with stars. There's a lot of ego involved. And they're on top. They may, at the time, be on top of a fucking wave like Tom Cruise would do. He's number one, so he marries a female number one. And they fucking live the high life for a few years, and then they realize that they're really just normal people, and they got all kinds of problems, and the fantasy starts falling apart. And yeah,
they're not superhuman.
They're not superhuman, and they're just regular fucking people.
You gotta poop and fart like everyone else.
In fact, not only are they just regular people, in some ways, I think they have a lot more problems than regular people have, because they can't live a normal life. And they.
I can see that would, and honestly, like, look, I have a lot of problems, but I can see how
that would be a problem.
I would not like to live like that.
Now,
No way.
luckily, the society has changed because movies aren't as cool as they were. They're cool. Some of them are cool. Most of them sucked. Even though most of them sucked. Only some of them.
But the thing about nowadays is that there's so many other options for entertainment.
There's a lot of competition.
There's a lot of competition, which they didn't have back in the old days.
They don't even really have movie stars as me and Jenny knew them, and some of you older people who are our age know. They don't even really have those anymore. The closest thing to a movie star today would be who? From the younger generation.
Thank you, Zach.
What's Zach saying?
The most successful Hollywood marriage I know of is Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. Yeah, they were married forever.
Right, yeah.
Holy crap.
I would think, oh, shit. For me, the closest thing to a movie star would be the dude that fucking starred in fucking Fury Road and all those other movies.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy's kind of a movie star. All right.
I mean, there's people that are like
The Rock is a movie star,
like universally recognizable.
Yeah, The Rock.
There is that.
Yeah, The Rock is a movie star.
Jennifer Lawrence, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Like most people, like be like, oh yeah. Okay, yeah, we know who that is.
The rest of them are just working actors, really. And
nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. They just kind of come and go, and they're making their money.
Daniel Craig.
He's a movie star. There's not as many
people
movie
that
stars.
Everybody knows who they are. I kind of feel like that's, even if you don't follow movies, you know who that bitch is.
There's not as many movie stars as they were, and movie stars aren't as cool or prolific as they used to be when we were kids. They're not
ubiquitous.
They're
well,
not,
like I said, there's so many other forms of media.
Right. I mean, here's the fucking thing that will piss the movie stars we talked about, that will piss them off. There are Instagram girls that, for me, are as good as a movie star. Because I look at them as much as I would look at a movie star. They're offering a different thing. Culture's different a lot. There are YouTubers that, for me, are equal or better than a movie star.
To me, I would be like more squee to like meet like some YouTubers that I'm into.
Like we talked about Razor Fist earlier on. Fucking for me, I'd rather meet Razor Fist than a lot of movie stars. Or they'd be the same.
If I got to hang out with like Matt and Craig from Welcome to the Basement,
then that'd be
Then that would be like super awesome.
And
I'd be way more excited to like hang out with like.
Now on the back of that.
And I'm old.
Right. And on the back of that, me and Jenny grew up in a movie star culture. On the back of that, those big studios would hate to hear that. That's not what they want to hear. But they've lost that monopoly on cool. A person could just be cool based upon their material that they're making and putting out in the internet.
That's cool though. I like that.
Yeah, that's much cooler. That's more naturalistic. Like, rock stars are gone. They're gone. Except the old ones that are still around. Like for me, a rock star, the fucking, fucking Judas Priest. You know what I mean? Fucking Rob Halford from Judas Priest is a rock star. But there aren't any new rock stars per se, other than locals like our friends from Starry Night. We hang out with them.
Well, like I said, everything's very. It's more like, I don't want to say localized.
It's more
because
localized.
It's bigger, but it is more localized.
It is more localized now.
In the sense that, not so much localized as location, but like localized in like little kind of subgenres.
Yeah, the Starry Night comes into town. They put on a show. It's a tiny show compared to the old 70s and 80s
everybody
shows.
In town shows up.
Yeah, everybody all our friends show up, and it's not. They're not filling up a coliseum like.
This is the only time we come out all year.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like we saw a couple of our friends there we haven't seen in like several years.
So it's very different. It's not like it was back in the day where Queen showed up and they'd fill up a fucking coliseum. You know, it was a different scene. They had more of a monopoly.
As I said, there was
then.
kind of less avenues to success.
Right.
Now there's more, like, you don't get as successful. Like, you're not going to make
trillions of
bajillion dollars.
No one has a monopoly.
Right.
It's all democratized.
Yeah, but there's more tentacles,
Right.
You're gonna make less, but at least you have like your own audience.
Right.
What I was gonna say is that when like talking about YouTubers, you guys know how much we love Dan Bell.
Yeah.
Dan Bell, what he started doing, he does a live stream every Saturday night, in case you guys didn't know. And he drives around Baltimore. Sometimes he does like Randonautica. He does abandoned places, ghost hunts. He does different stuff. What he started doing was that he started doing a drawing of all his patrons, of which there are many. He has hundreds of patrons. So he does a drawing of if somebody wants to come with him on the Saturday night thing. So if you can be in Baltimore where he lives, and on that Saturday night in particular, and you want to like win the thing, you can enter. And he does that. So every week for the past couple months, he's been doing these Saturday night things with like, so it's a different person, like a fan, like every time. And it's hilarious because you have like, it's kind of cool because you see him and he's awesome, but it's like you have this random person that's just like a fan of his or patron.
Yeah.
And it's a different person every time. And like their whole family is watching.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, they're kind of like so excited like to meet Dan. He's like this big fucking celebrity.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's a YouTuber.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he's got like millions of fucking subscribers, so it's kind of like the same. So he's kind of like a celebrity in his own right. So I love that, like, there's just random people like showing up being like, hey, I'm like, look, I'm famous. I'm like on the fucking YouTube show with Dan.
All right, Conor Vatslan's coming back explaining what he was talking about. For those of you who don't know Con is a friend of mine. We talk on Messenger all the time. He lives in Tijuana. He's got a cute wife, and he's got 2 sons that look like they should be in goddamn Hollywood. Okay, they look like a little Mexican Tom Cruise and fucking. They just look like little. His sons look like movie stars. Okay, and this is what he was talking about. He says the reference is if you're gonna do bad shit to people, you better be prepared, because if not, it plays out. Your ass is gonna be dragged across the street and eventually burned in the middle of the town. The laws in Mexico are for the rich people. The laws in Mexico are for the rich. He's talking about the disintegration of fucking civil society over the whole world right now, really. And he goes, people are now enforcing what he called Macahuatl. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Macahuatl law. Macahuatl law.
I'm kind of drunk too, but I'm trying.
Yeah. And in some rural towns way up in the mountains, their asses get eaten. No joke. This is something that a lot of people in the north can't accept. Traditional Mexico were cannibals. Okay, you got your ass eaten. It was.
Well, I would eat you too if you pissed me off enough.
Right. Okay.
So I get it.
Which it makes a lot of sense if you understand the geography of Mexico and what kind of animals they had and the dietary constraints that were put on. You got your ass eaten, okay? And their religion, the old Nahuatl fucking Mexican religion. Okay? It's so basic. Good deeds live a peaceful life. Bad actions, the reapers will eventually get you. Exactly.
Just be cool, everybody. Goddamn.
Yeah. Now Zach fucking sent a super chat at $5,
Thank you, Zach.
saying there's something so weird about watching a real old movie, finding the actress hot, and then realizing, oh, you're dead now.
Yeah. We've all had that.
Yeah.
Because I love silent movies.
Yeah.
And so I watched like all the silent, like old silent movies, like, all the fucking, the Phantom Carriage and like the Hands of Orlac and all that kind of stuff. And it's just kind of like, man, this is so cool, and like everybody looks so cool, and I'm like, oh, they're dead.
Yeah.
That's so creepy.
Now,
but that makes the movies better, in my opinion.
Now, a boy, Murder Hornet, who lives on the border, who always goes to Mexico all the time, is a friend of mine. He's saying, well, what only matters in Mexico is money. That's not true. That's not what matters in Mexico. What matters in Mexico is the same thing that matters everywhere. Power. Power is what really matters.
Yeah, but money
sometimes money is power.
Sure.
Sometimes violence is power. But really, truth is not a reality. Truth even doesn't matter. What matters is power. Because if you have power, you can dictate truth to people, and you can dictate justice to people. And that's the nature of power. And all of the Mesoamerican societies and cultures were really hinged upon power, religious power, or just, power. But, they're all like that. All societies are like that. Power is central.
Kelly G's talking about Kurt and Goldie.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah. Well, those
They've
are
been
two
together a
very
long
good people.
time. They've been together a long time.
It's a very good Hollywood couple.
And I love that they were in Christmas Chronicles together. That is so fucking cute.
Yeah.
That they were Santa and Mrs.
Christmas
Claus.
Chronicles 1.
So cute.
Christmas Chronicles 1 on Netflix is a masterpiece. 2 is good. It's okay. But Christmas Chronicles 1.
Yeah, the second one was like alright, but the first one was like way better.
I'm hoping that there's going to be a third one.
I mean, probably.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like they probably will make a third one.
Crossall makes.
At least the second one had Belsnickel in it, which I was I was into that, like how they went into that like old Christmas mythology. I was like, all right, I see what you're doing.
Kurt Russell makes a good Santa Claus. Real good.
Yeah, because he's like cranky, but he's like just the right amount of cranky.
Well, he's kind of macho too for an old guy.
Right.
And but he's fun. He's fun. He's a good-natured guy.
We watched Christmas Chronicles, the first one, every Christmas.
And Brian, who I mentioned before, worked on several films with Kurt Russell, and he says Kurt Russell is exactly as he appears. He's the kind of guy you would want to hang out with. He's a good guy. He's the kind of guy you go to his farm and ride around on four-wheelers and shoot guns and talk about Old West fucking guns and shit like that. He's just, he's a guy. He's a guy.
Well, see, like I said, honestly, whatever your proclivities are, whatever your whatever is, I just like people that are just themselves.
Yeah, he's just himself.
Don't try to be something that you're not. If you're just, as long as you're not like an obnoxious ass, like that's something else. But if you're just like a cool person and you just like act like how you are, you're not pretending to be something else, then that's awesome.
Quentin Tarantino liked him. Me and Quentin Tarantino went to middle school together.
I feel like nobody doesn't like Kurt Russell. Who doesn't like Kurt Russell?
Yeah.
I can't think of a single person.
Me and Quentin Tarantino went to Dominguez Elementary School in California together. I remember him, but I thought he was in the same grade as me. He wasn't. He was a couple years older than me, but I remember him.
I looked that up later. And that's like
I think he was a year or two older than me. He ended up working at the
video store.
The video store just up the street.
Yeah.
From in Carson, where he used to live over near the Mexican restaurant, where my dad used to love that Mexican restaurant. I think it was called El Ranchitos. I think is what it was called. And then behind that area, in the fucking commercial rental areas, that's where what's his name? Fucking had his damn motorcycle shop. Not Billy Lane, the other one, that was fucking married to.
That guy.
What's his name? Jesse James. Jesse James. Yeah.
I was like, famous guy's name.
Jesse James Motorcycle Studio was in the place where we used to fucking jump the fence and go play out in the damn strawberry fields owned by the Japanese dudes. The Japanese dudes would be out there owning the fucking strawberry fields. And then behind that was the stables that I used to ride my horses at, or my ponies at, where my mom used to fucking... my mom had her horse there, and I had my pony there. And Christina Toy and her dad owned that farm. And Christina's dad was Japanese. And Christina was half Japanese. That was a Japanese area. A lot of people don't know that. But California was been colonized by the Japanese for a long time. A lot of them ended up going back to Japan, though. And what they did was they grew strawberries. They grew strawberries and had little farms. And they made wine. A lot of that California wine everybody was talking about, like this fucking famous California, and they have fucking, what's that old fat dude's name, Orson Welles out there talking about his, what was
we
the name
will
of that?
sell no wine.
Yeah, we will sell no wine before it's time, and they had all these fucking famous fucking fancy French and fucking Italian sounding names and shit. That was Japanese wine. It was Japanese guys that owned those companies. California companies.
Well, as I said,
it was marketing.
Always a lot more
marketing.
complicated than marketing is always
marketing. Yeah.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
I had a huge crush on Christina Toy. I showed pictures of her. I got pictures of her in my military school fucking yearbooks.
You had a crush on everybody.
Yeah.
What else?
That's the way I was. I was sensitive. I was sensitive.
You was sensitive.
I was sensitive, yeah. I fall in love with all these girls.
Not anymore.
And I'm still sensitive. I'm old now, though.
You're not sensitive anymore.
Well, no, it is as you get older.
We got into the whole nihilism discussion
No,
a
it's not
couple
true.
shows ago.
That's the way
you don't care about anything.
No, it's just the way you're reading into it. It's the way you read into it. As you get older, at least at least I did. As I got older, I appreciated human physiology, human beauty, and human strength more as I went. There was something about me watching my dad almost die. It changed me. That health and beauty was far more important than I thought because it's so temporary, it's fleeting.
Because it's temporary, I see it as less important. I'm kind of like more interested in people's, like their inner kind of shit.
Well, it's holistic. It's everything at once.
That's what I mean.
It's holistic. It's everything at once.
I'm not as interested in people's like physical appearance because because that changes over time. So it's not that interesting to me. Okay. I'm more interested in people's, what are their philosophies? What are their dreams? I'm more interested in like their inner shit. What's going on? I see
it as all one thing.
I mean, it is to an extent.
All right.
But to me, what's going on with your inner self, that's more important to me than what's going on with your outer self. Because like I said, that's very changeable. You can change that. You can change it through surgery or whatever. And when you get old, it changes. So I'm not as interested in that because it's fleeting. So I don't really care about it. I care about like what is going on with you as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Outside of like this.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't really agree, but I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, but that's why it's not important to me because it's not.
No, I believe in a holistic approach. More Greek.
I mean, well, like I said, I think we're both talking about the same thing. It's just like a percentage issue.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like physical to me is more like maybe 10 or 20%.
Oh no, for me it's 50.
And like to me it's like more like I'm more interested in like what's going on like inside your head.
Mind and body is 50%.
I'm more interested in what's going on.
50-50.
So there's that.
Yeah.
So all right, so I got a couple more cases.
Okay.
Now this was a case I didn't actually. Okay. Now this was a case we talked about back on episode 225, early December 2020, and this was a very very famous case because there were CCTV videos of this kid disappearing. This is Andrew Gosden, and I didn't realize that there had been some updates in this case until somebody sent me an update on it. So I wanted to talk about this. So just to remind everybody, okay, so this kid was born in 1993. He's from South Yorkshire. This is a British case. And he was basically, when he was a kid, kind of a shy kid, kind of introverted, but very intelligent, very mature for his age, very gifted. And also at school, he had 100% attendance. And he was in the gifted program. He was real into like video games, really into like heavy metal and shit like that. So September 14th, 2007, at which point Andrew was 14 years old. So he wakes up for school that day like he did usually. But his mom noticed on this particular day that he was really like kind of cranky on this day. And he had like slept late, which was unlike him because he liked school and he was always on time and was always like kind of interested in going to school. So she thought it was like weird that he was acting a little bit different, that he was like kind of like irritable and stuff. So he gets ready to go to school and leaves the house at 5 minutes past 8 in the morning. He gets seen by a family friend sitting by his usual bus stop. But apparently what happened was that instead of getting on this bus, which would have taken him to school, he actually let the bus go by and sat on the bench and waited. Now, what they think he was waiting for was that he was just waiting there for his parents and stuff to leave his house so he could go back to his house. Because indeed, that's what happened. According to his neighbor's CCTV camera, he actually came back to his house at 8:30 in the morning, changed out of his school uniform, and put on his own clothes, which was, dark jeans, his backpack, and a Slipknot t-shirt. And at this point, he takes his wallet, his keys, and his PSP PlayStation console. So he leaves his house again about 8:30 in the morning. And he goes to Doncaster train station. On the way there, he stops at an ATM and he takes out £200 from his account. He goes to the station and buys a one-way ticket to London. Now, the woman that is selling the tickets, she says, well, you can buy a return for just 50 pence more. And he's very adamant at saying, no, I just want a one-way, which she thought was very unusual and she remembered later on. Interestingly, even though he took £200 out of his bank account, he actually left £100 cash of birthday money at his house. He didn't take that with him. So all the witness accounts say that they saw this kid boarding the train to King's Cross Station at 9:35 in the morning by himself. And at this point, Andrew's school had noticed that he was not in his morning classes, so they tried to call his parents to ask where he was. Unfortunately, they called the wrong number and left a message at the wrong number. So his parents didn't know until later. 11:20 a.m., the train arrives at King's Cross, and the CCTV camera, very famously, caught the last confirmed sighting of Andrew Gosden. He was leaving the station. It's a very, very famous, if you know anything about true crime and you followed like missing person stuff, you've seen like the video of this kid leaving King's Cross Station and then he disappeared and they have no idea where he went to. So he left the station 11:25 a.m. and that was the last time he was ever seen at this train station. So that night, Andrew's family come home, and they didn't immediately twig to the fact that Andrew was missing because they thought, oh, well, he's just up in his room playing video games or listening to music like he usually did. So they didn't, like, really check on him. So basically, they noticed he wasn't there, like, an hour or two later, and then they started calling around to, his friends and shit like that. He didn't have a cell phone at the time because they said that his family said, well, we would buy him them and then like buy him cell phones and he would lose them. So we just stopped buying them. So he didn't have one. So they called the cops at this point because they're just like, they don't know where he is. So at this point they start searching the local area. They make a missing persons poster and like kind of put that around. Several days later, a woman comes forward and says, I'm the person that sold Andrew the train ticket at the King's Cross Station, and said I remembered him because I told him you can buy a return ticket for just 50 pence more, and he was very adamant that he did not want that. He just wanted one way. So they asked his dad, Kevin, about this, and he said, well, that's not that weird because he had a lot of friends in London that he could have stayed with overnight. So it wasn't that strange that maybe he just like went to London and decided he was going to stay with somebody overnight and come back the next day. They did a search of several other areas where he had friends or relatives, but they didn't find anything. Now, what they thought at first, the cops, was that Andrew had gone to London to meet somebody specifically, because it did seem like he had deliberately like lied to his parents, skipped school, and then deliberately taken the train to London, one-way ticket, so it looked like he was going to meet somebody like on purpose. And like I said, they knew he was doing it because they caught him on the CCTV camera. But the thing about it, so they thought, well, maybe he met somebody on the internet and he was like going to meet them. However, the thing about it, this is weird, but like he didn't really use the computer all that much. He didn't have an email address, shit like that. It's not impossible that he met somebody on the internet, but it just seems like unlikely. They also, the cops looked into Andrew's PlayStation to see if he had accessed social media on that, but they didn't find anything. So they didn't really know why. Thank you, David June. Good evening, everyone. Just got in the room. Hope everyone is doing well. Thank you.
Damn,
Welcome.
David, you late, man.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, thank you.
We're still
for
going. I
out,
still got a couple cases to go.
Yeah,
We're fine.
we started late at the new time of 6. So.
Yeah, we started at 6. So
Yeah.
we haven't been going on. We've been going 2 hours and 50 minutes.
And an hour of it was introduction.
That's true. Well, like as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, at this point, like, the cops are just kind of like, okay, well, like, we don't know what happened then, because it's just kind of like, his family and his friends said, well, he wouldn't have just taken off to go sightseeing or some shit like that. Now, one of the things that they thought he might have done, though, and this sounds kind of likely, he was only 14, he was real into heavy metal. Now, the day that he disappeared, there was a gig that night. It was 30 Seconds to Mars at Brixton Academy, and there was a metal band called Sixth, and they were playing at the Carling Academy, and that was only like a block away from the King's Cross station. So it could have been that he didn't really want to ask his parents to go to the show, and then he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to the show anyway, and then he just went to it without telling them. So it's possible that that happened. Now, so it could have been that. And his dad kind of believed that. He said his quote was that his son might have gone to London to, quote, do something for which he felt it was easier to seek forgiveness for rather than permission. So maybe he wanted to go to a gig and he didn't want to ask his, because he was only 14. And he knew they would have said no. So, you know, so he's like, well, I'm just going to go and then come back and later. And so they thought maybe it was like spur of the moment. Now, there was a lot of controversy about this case at the time because even though like his parents obviously like reported him missing pretty much immediately, like the cops really didn't, I don't think they didn't think to, or they didn't really care to look at the CCTV footage from all of the stuff. So the CCTV footage that's very famous from this case, the Andrew Gosden case, they didn't really find that until like a month later, like finding him coming out of the station. So there was that. There were also some witness reports that placed him in a Pizza Hut nearby, and also a sighting of him at Covent Garden. And the cops didn't actually talk to the witness that had seen him in Covent Garden for like 6 weeks after he disappeared. And some people said that these leads were never even followed up on. So at this point, like, some people are thinking, because he never turned up afterward, obviously. So some people are starting to think that maybe he got murdered. 10 months after he disappeared, there was another 16-year-old boy who actually went missing from Enfield, which is a suburb of Manchester, I believe. And he was going to a friend's house and he disappeared. And some people think that maybe that kid got, like, kidnapped and maybe, like, human trafficking, something like that, and that maybe the same people did the same shit. So we'll see. But the thing about it, if he ran away, it did seem like his initial leaving was deliberate. He did deliberately go to his bus stop. He did deliberately miss his bus. He did deliberately go back to the house and change his clothes and take money out of the account and get a one-way ticket to London. So obviously he was going there for a reason. He didn't take the money from his birthday. He had £100 in his room, which was not taken. People also noted that he didn't take a coat. He took his PSP, but he didn't take the charger. He didn't take anything that would indicate that he was going away for a long time, is what I'm saying. You know, so he seemed like he went away, but not that he was going to be gone for an extended period of time. Nobody said that he was exhibiting any signs of depression or anything like that. So nobody thinks he went off to, like, kill himself or whatever. Now, to this day, like, today, he would be late 20s. Now, in early December of 2021, not that long ago, the West Midlands Police said that they had arrested 2 men in conjunction with this case. One of them was a 45-year-old man. One of them was a 38-year-old man. they think that both of these men, they are suspected of kidnapping and human trafficking. And the 45-year-old is also charged with possession of indecent images of children. So we're kind of thinking that maybe Andrew Gosden was either, I don't know if somebody approached him online or somebody approached him in person or somebody found him, like maybe he actually did go to the gig like he said he was going to do, and then these two dudes somehow like got their clutches into him, but they arrested these two dudes, and these two dudes are suspected of trafficking children for nefarious purposes.
How old was this victim again?
14.
Now the photographs that they had, they were boys or girls?
I don't know.
That's kind of an important detail.
I don't know.
They're not telling us.
Well, I mean, they might, but I didn't see it. But,
Yeah.
you know, just in the shit that I did.
I don't know. I just can't comment on it, I guess.
I mean, like
Not
I
enough
said,
information.
it does seem like the kid went away on purpose, but from all the evidence, it seems like he wasn't planning to be away all that long. Like I said, he didn't bring the charger for his PlayStation. He didn't bring that extra 100 pounds. He didn't bring... I think that he was just going to London for that show and didn't want to tell his parents. So he just, like, skipped school, and he's like, well, I'll just skip out to the show and then, like, come back. And then while he was in London, he met with some...
Yeah, well, obviously
difficulties.
something happened to him.
Something bad happened to him
The
because he
trafficking
never came
angle,
back.
I'm questioning it.
I don't know. It does happen, though. It does happen.
A boy of 14, kind of sometimes hard to deal with. And I'd have to know the supposed offenders better. You know what I mean? You had Dean Coral doing shit to dudes that were older than that. But his motive was a lot different. Well, you just have... there's not enough information there. There's not.
I'm just saying that 2 arrests have been made. And it's like older dudes that have been arrested for human trafficking and allegedly child porn type of charges. And they have been arrested in conjunction with this case. So obviously they think that there is some connection
Some kind
there.
of connection. Well,
They're not really saying what it is.
there's not enough information.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah.
And they've released them for now, but
Yeah.
they're still keeping them under surveillance because they
There
think
must
they
have
have...
been... there wasn't enough to hold them.
Well,
the only way.
it's the UK, so
Yeah.
it's different. I don't know if like the laws might be slightly different, but they do kind of like...
If they got you, they got you.
They do suspect that these 2 dudes had something to do with this kid's disappearance.
Or at least they did for a while. If they got you, they got you. They don't let you go.
Well, the thing...
I'd have to look at the details of the fucking
Yeah.
British laws, but, you know... I don't know. I mean, something else could have happened to this kid.
Well, a lot of things could have happened
Yeah.
to this kid, which is sad because, I mean, this kid looks like he's cute as a button. He's like a little 14-year-old little kid with little glasses. Oh, this is his little Slipknot shirt.
Never found a body.
Nope.
He just he may have been abducted and then murdered.
Something happened to him. I think that he went away that day on purpose, but I think he was just going, like I said, to a gig or to do something that he wasn't supposed to do. Like he thought he'd get in trouble. I don't think he thought that he was going to be gone for that long. I don't think he was running away from home or anything like that. Like I said, he didn't take his fucking charger. He didn't take extra money. He didn't take anything like that. He didn't take a coat. He didn't take anything that you would think that you would need if you were going to be gone for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
I think that he was just going to that event or something, and he thought he was going to be back like the next day.
There's not
I think.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. Something happened to him,
And I think that when he got there, something happened to him.
something happened to him, and there's not enough there for me to give an opinion.
And that he
Yeah.
met with some fucking...
yeah,
Yeah.
there's no telling. They're just got to wait until.
And it's really sad. But like I said...
if more comes out,
I mean-
sometimes Jenny and I have been doing this for a while, and she's written entire books at it. There's shit that's happened fucking hundreds of years ago, 100 years ago. Not much information and nothing more ever emerged. You would be amazed at the amount of people that just kind of disappear. And that's it.
It's kind of sad when
Yeah.
you think about it. And like I said, if you ever want to be like fucking depressed for a day, go to Wikipedia and go to like unsolved murders or like unidentified murder victims.
Yeah. Well, one
there
of your
are
books.
so many.
Now's the time to plug one of your books that you fucking detail the shit for the unseen hand. There's a lot of that shit.
Well, no, that's the Poltergeist book.
Oh, no, it's
Faceless Villain.
Faceless Villain. I mean.
Oh, you know what you should do?
Villain, yeah.
I actually have 3 print copies of that because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
bought them for somebody that wanted signed copies. Go in that closet and get them so I can
Where
show
are
them
they?
online. They're in that closet right there. They're in a like little box right there. Yeah, I wrote like 3 whole fucking books about unsolved murders. Some of these have been solved, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute because one of them actually has been solved. But
You sold signed copies?
yeah, somebody asked for them, so I ordered some copies. This is the first volume, right there.
It's already signed, ready to go?
Well, I haven't signed it yet.
Yes, there you go.
But yeah, I'm waiting until they send me the money.
Okay.
But this is volume 2, which is the biggest one, because this is.
Yeah. It's a big, thick books, people. She researched the shit out of these. This isn't
And like
fly
I
by
said-
night. Jenny can fucking write a book. I'm telling you. Yeah.
3
Beautiful
fucking
books.
volumes of this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the cases that are in here, hundreds
Yeah.
and hundreds.
Yeah.
That is just like a tiny like fucking drop in the bucket.
Of how many are out there.
I had to leave out so many.
Yeah.
I had to leave out so many.
Right.
I only put in the ones in the book that were weird, like random. Like I said, I left out like gang stuff, like
Yeah.
robberies,
Right.
political assassinations, because I said, well, if we don't know who did that, well, like
Yeah.
we at least know what the motive is.
Right.
I was more interested in stuff that was like motiveless, like why the fuck would somebody do that? I was more
Right.
interested in that kind of shit.
Yeah, to just find a house and it's what people have been axed
And there's
to
like,
death.
yeah, and it's like
And
that
you
nothing's
never-
taken or anything
No.
like that. I'm more interested in that kind of
Right.
like why.
Right.
So,
And here's
but
the
even with that,
Yeah.
there was that many fucking cases.
Yeah.
Even with
And
that.
and there was more than that.
And there was more than that. I had
Yeah.
to like leave out a bunch of
Yeah.
shit. Because I couldn't
The-
find enough information or
Right.
whatever. That was just like.
Here's the weird and fucking, I guess you can say, unhappy truth. You can kill somebody and get away with it. As long as you're not connected to that person.
Yeah, and we've said this
Yeah.
before, like on some of the cases, and
Yeah.
like I said, I'm not giving anybody advice or anything like that.
No.
But and it's much harder to get away with nowadays now that we have DNA profiling.
And cameras everywhere.
Cameras everywhere, DNA profiling. Like, I'm gonna say, like, if you're alive back, if you could get a time machine back to the 70s, then you could probably get away
Well,
with
even
it
90s.
more.
Even
Or
90s.
90s, yeah.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you probably wouldn't get away
It's
with
a
it.
lot
same.
harder.
It's a lot harder. But honestly, what they say is like you just have to kill people that are like not that don't have any connection to you,
As long as it's kind of random.
because that's
Yeah.
where they have to start.
Yeah.
Is people that are like, because no, well, and you know why they do that, because 95% of the time, the person that kills you is going to be some motherfucker that knows you,
Right. Luckily,
usually intimately.
Luckily, even most psycho motherfuckers don't kill random people. Most people that kill somebody that they know for a reason.
Yeah, and I mean
Right.
that's bad, but
At least those motherfuckers mostly get caught.
yeah.
Uh,
So I'm saying that like people
Yeah.
worry about serial killers. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that being killed by a random person, it could happen.
Yeah.
It happens all the time, but statistically, it's very unlikely.
Yeah.
If someone's gonna murder you, it's probably somebody that you know.
Yeah.
You should be more worried about people that you know than random ass motherfuckers.
Yeah, and they're killing you
sure.
for a reason. Something,
And they're killing you for whether that reason is legit or not.
No.
That's a whole different issue.
It's a reason that you
But-
probably know about a lot
Yeah.
of half the time. It's some kind of an argument.
Shit, I was watching one of those bizarre murders show last night.
Yeah.
And in this case, this woman turned up dead and her pieces were found in suitcases, all like in these parts, like her torso and her arms and her legs. and her head was like found in these different suitcases. And it turned out like they had all these other suspects, but it turned out that like her brother had done it.
Yeah.
Allegedly, I don't know if this is true or not. This was the brother's story.
Yeah.
The brother said, "Oh, they got in an argument, and like he like whacked her in the head because he was mad, and he killed her, and he didn't mean to. And then because he didn't mean to kill her, he decided to compound his error by cutting her body up, and then putting it in various suitcases and like dumping it in a park." Which I find that very hard to believe. Look. If you kill somebody accidentally, I understand, like, you would panic and shit like that. But then to say, to jump from that to, I'm going to cut this body into pieces and very methodically place the pieces into different suitcases and dump them at various times and places at this park, I am not buying that. I kind of feel like that was... Yeah, I'm not buying that dude's story.
All right, they're asking me questions about the shirt. All right, you missed the beginning part of the show.
All right, I gotta pee again.
This shirt was from a band called Laboratory. It was the opening act to this Starry Night show that we saw a couple days back. And in Laboratory, it's two girls and a dude, and it's kind of like Cam FDM, and there was a fucking little chick. She's probably 5 feet tall, 4'11" or something, fucking skinny with a big booty, and she comes up out of a damn coffin and with fucking glowing contact lenses and starts singing, and she was like right there in front of me. And after the show, I bought the shirt. The name of the band is called Laboratory, and it was the fucking ugliest shirt I've ever seen. But you're right, it's like a Rorschach test. It's a damn hand. I don't know who drew this shit. It's a hand with fucking strings like a puppet master going through a coffin with some people. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. I looked at it and I was like, man, that's the shittiest shirt I've ever seen. I'm gonna buy one. So I just bought it for $20. I bought it. But no, I'm not selling this one. And you guys are talking about the other shirts, the Pliskin shirts and the fucking Blade Runner shirts from the Genetic Republicans, the Genetic Replicants. We have a fucking plans to do an OCP shirt from RoboCop, but Jenny's fucking dragging her feet on it.
I'm not dragging my feet. I'm just busy.
Okay, she's busy. We have. I want a Canon Studios shirt and I want a fucking OCP shirt. In about a week. Can you do it, Jenny? I'll put it on a thing and I'll make shirts and I'll start offering it.
Look, write it down.
Okay.
I did a Canon design already.
The design. You did this. You did the design for OCP, I think, already.
I might have.
We just got to send it to.
I don't remember. It was a long time ago. I just have to have I know I did the Canon one.
Okay.
I do so much shit. I don't even remember.
I promise, fucking Bee's Nest, the Canon and the OCP shirt.
I do have a Canon.
And they look
one.
great, people.
I just haven't shot. I just haven't sent the to do the transparency.
Gotta send it out to get the transparency.
Yeah, we have to go get the transparency.
And when she sends me the transparency, I'll make the fucking plate and I'll make some shirts and I'll wear it and I'll send Bee's Nest some
because now we gotta drive a ways to the print shop.
Is there a service that they can bring? Well, I'll ride out there on the bike.
Yeah, you can.
I'll ride out there on the bike.
Because some of the print shops, I used to use FedEx Office, but only certain FedEx offices have the transparency paper.
Yeah.
Because the one nearest our house, they didn't have transparency paper half the time. So I just had to send it to the one farther away. So we had to drive 10 miles to get the fucking transparency, and then I had to bring it back, and then we had to shoot the screens in the closet and all that kind of shit. But yeah. I did a Canon design. I might have done an OCP. I don't remember. I have to look it up.
The OCP looks good. It's just like it was from because I found the data file, the picture that we just got to put it on a fucking transparency. All right, it looks good. It's just straight out of the movie. Okay, the one that impressed me was the Canon Studios, and I know you bitches grew up with those fucking cheesy ass Canon movies. They were great. We loved them. That shit is not copyrighted. Canon is long gone. And
I mean, I hope it's down. I
fucking,
wanted some
even
bitch
Brian
suing.
Hackett back in Hollywood, I'm sure he would love to have a fucking Canon fucking shirt. It would look great. A white image on a damn black shirt. And I'll send them out. We can make money on Canon. It'd be a bootleg
Yeah, because
as a
they're like
motherfucker.
not. Well, they're not around anymore.
They're not
right?
around. It's
Like,
bootleg as a
can they
motherfucker.
sue me? I feel like they maybe can't sue me.
They can't really sue you. They're not around.
I mean,
But
somebody could probably sue me.
It's just a cool looking logo. We're not going to print up enough of them to be a problem, and we'll give them away or give them out for super chats, and we'll give them to our subscribers as just a bonus. But it's just a good bootleg, cool shirt. And I got
Just write it on there. I will put it on my list.
I got sleeveless muscle shirts. I got fucking short sleeve shirts. I got women's shirts.
Yeah, we still got a closet of like stock in there.
Got a
I mean,
lot of
I
stock
gotta
in there.
like replenish it,
Yeah.
but there's still like a lot of shirts in there that we haven't printed yet.
We had some titty shirts, didn't we?
Yeah, well, because
Yeah.
every time I order blank shirts, I always order like several more than are needed.
Yeah.
So that we can have like extras.
Right.
So we have a closet full of
So
stuff.
if you got nice boobs, we'll fucking hook you up. Put that shit on a Canon shirt.
Okay.
And your rack will be proudly displaying the Canon logo. You're like, what the fuck is Canon? You don't know B movies if you don't know Canon. You just don't know B movies.
I mean,
it was another era. It was just a cool logo. You saw it at the beginning of the movie when you saw it.
It was a good logo. Like
Yeah.
from a graphic design standpoint, it was very impactful.
Yeah, remember Carrillo?
Yeah.
That one too.
No, that was Corel. I thought it was Corel.
Carrilco.
Corelco.
Carrilco. We need to get one of those too.
Or however you pronounce
They're
it.
probably long gone also. Carrilco.
I mean, like I said, I'm a graphic designer, so somebody got some good logo game. I'm gonna be all into that.
Yeah, Carrilco. We need to get one of those.
You got some good impactful shit. Because like a good logo, very
Yeah.
simple, reproducible
Yeah.
at large sizes and small sizes,
Yeah.
looks good in black and white or in color.
Right.
You know, everybody
Right.
immediately knows what that is. And it's harder to do than you think.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
Yeah. Yeah, they're asking what the shirt is. I told you these are old chats.
Well, yeah.
That's great work. Jenny, she talking about Mary's talking about the books. Yeah, I told you guys what it is. That's what it was.
I mean, I would make people a shirt, but it's like they
Yeah.
probably can't afford me. Because I'm
Yeah.
not working for free.
Yeah. If you want a fucking,
I've done enough of that.
If you want an original, then fucking you're gonna have to pay.
Bitch, I've been doing this shit for like 25 years.
Yeah.
I'm past the point where...
Yeah.
And I still get this now. It's like, well, hey, can you do this stuff for like $10? You know? No.
Hundreds and hundreds.
I mean, come on. I can't pay my rent with that shit. Jesus
Yeah.
Christ. I'd rather like do nothing. All right, so
What's the next case?
Gabby Petito.
Okay.
Can I get another drink though?
Yeah.
Now, okay, I kind of feel like the Gabby Petito case, very high profile. I don't think that we covered it on any of our regular shows. But do you remember there was a short time period, this was Tom's idea, that at the beginning of the shows we did like a news update segment, and I thought that we had covered this case on one of those, but I could be wrong about it, because when I was looking for stuff that had been updated, I was like, man, that sounds really familiar. I know it was really high profile, but I kind of feel like we probably talked about it at some point. I don't know if we did, but if we didn't, I'm gonna update it anyway, because like I said, this is a very high profile case. So, all right, Gabby Petito. Now, she was 22 years old, from Long Island. Now, she got reported missing. This is fairly recent. September 11th, 2021. So I feel like this might have been in one of our news segments when we used to do those. So she gets reported missing during a cross-country trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, in July of 2021. Now, what ended up happening was that Brian, who was 23, a couple years older than her, or a year older than her, came home to his parents' house in Florida, Northport, Florida, without her. And so everybody thought it was a little weird. So everybody, like, reported her missing after that point. So what had happened prior to that? July of 2021, Gabby and Brian pack up her van and they go on a road trip. They were going to go visit all the national parks, like in one particular part of the country. So they were in Grand Teton. That was the last place that they visited during their van trip that summer. Now, that was kind of like the last place also that Gabby was seen alive. And after that, thank you. After that stop was when Brian Laundrie turned up by himself back at the... Are you eating something?
Mm-hmm.
He got something out of the fridge.
Vanilla cookies. Oh, Mom?
No, I'm not going to eat on
Okay.
camera. I got to talk. I'll have some after. Well, are we going to have, like, actual food after? Or are you just... Okay. I didn't know what you were planning. But I'm good. See where that is? That's good, right?
I can cook something when we get now.
Okay.
I got turkey.
That's right. You guys, we had a turkey
Yeah.
that we bought before Thanksgiving, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before Thanksgiving. So we got
It's
like a bunch
frozen,
of turkeys for cheap, and they were frozen. And our freezer has kind of been on the fritz.
Yeah.
So the turkey started to thaw out. So Tom was like,
With
fuck
thaw
it.
and freeze and thaw and freeze.
So Tom's like, fuck it, I'm going to cook
I gotta
it.
cook that damn turkey.
So he cooked it.
No.
So the last couple days, yeah, we've been having like Thanksgiving, like turkey sandwiches.
I didn't cook the whole turkey. I cut it into pieces and cooked it in pieces. I quartered it.
So we had like turkey sandwiches, like turkey and mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
We had some stuffing.
Yeah.
We
Some
did like the whole.
stovetop stuffing.
We did like a little bit of the Thanksgiving experience,
Instant mashed potatoes.
which is fine with me. That's fine with me.
Made my own cranberry sauce.
Honestly, today we had like for lunch, I had a turkey sandwich with like that cheese
Yeah, it
and
was.
pickles and mayo on it.
Yeah.
That was delicious.
Yeah, it was good.
That was delicious. That's all I've had today. I had a turkey sandwich for
Yeah.
lunch, and then for dinner
I put
I had
Edam cheese on it.
I had an egg salad sandwich. And
I put that Edam
a granola
cheese.
bar, and
I
was
put
about
that
it.
Edam cheese on it from fucking.
It was that was really good.
Yeah.
And the pickles really made it. I
Yeah.
have to say.
Edam cheese, pickles, and mayo on a fucking slabs of fucking turkey breast.
Yeah, and it was like big fucking slabs. It was,
Yeah, like
good.
that
And big slabs of cheese too. It was
Yeah.
like really good. So yeah, okay. So everybody is suspicious. Even when we first talked about this case, everyone's suspicious of her boyfriend. Because like I said, that's always like suspect number one in these situations. And especially considering the fact that it's like, hey, we were on this road trip, and then he comes back to Florida by himself, and it's just kind of like, I don't know what happened. So the whole time they were gone, like while they were on their trip, they'd been documenting their stuff on Instagram. Interestingly though, and this is pretty well documented, August 12th, they were actually in 2021, they were stopped by police near Moab, Utah, because the two of them got into a little bit of a domestic dispute. Now there is police video out there which actually shows Gabby Petito talking about a fight that she and her boyfriend had. And the police at the time concluded that Gabby was actually the aggressor. But they didn't like arrest anybody at the time. They just said, well, we're just going to like separate you motherfuckers and like let's call an end to it. But in hindsight, people were kind of like upset about it. They're like, look, one, you didn't do a domestic violence thing on her because she admitted that she had started the fight. And also you didn't look into the possibility that maybe he had instigated the shit like before you got there, because there had been some witness accounts that he had actually like hit her first before the cops got there, and that she was like covering up for him. So there was kind of like a whole thing, because they'd been together for a while, so they didn't know if there was like some kind of weird thing going on where she was just like saying, yeah, it was me. Now, so there was that. Now, more than a month after this incident where the cops were called in Moab, Utah, September 19th, 2021, Gabby Petito's body was found at a campground near the Grand Teton National Park. That's in Wyoming, if you don't know. Now, when they did an autopsy, they determined that she had died about 3 weeks prior. So, probably not too long after the cops had stopped them. She had died of blunt force injuries to the head and neck and manual strangulation. Now, again, very fishy. Brian Laundrie drives back to his house in Florida in early September. But weirdly, he comes back without his girlfriend, which everybody thinks is weird. And then he also went missing not too long after that. So yeah, people thought that was very strange. However, recently, they found what ended up happening was that Brian Laundrie's parents found something that belonged to him, like in this park, like near their house. And when they searched, they actually found Brian Laundrie's remains in this park in Florida. And they also found a bunch of his stuff. They found his revolver, they found a backpack, and they found a notebook. They found that he had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The FBI didn't tell anybody what was in the notebook, but they did release to the public that when they searched the cell phone records, it appeared that what Brian had been trying to do was that he had been sending texts from his phone to his girlfriend's phone in an attempt to make it seem as though his girlfriend was still alive, even though she was obviously dead because they had already found her body. So that seemed very, very suspicious, obviously, because he was trying to cover up her death. He knew she was dead and was like trying to like make it look like she was still alive. So, yeah. So at that point, they found his body. He had killed himself. And because they found this notebook, which they are not disclosing the contents of, but because they found these texts where it very clearly appeared as though he was trying to make his girlfriend seem like she was still alive, they concluded that this motherfucker, as everyone suspected, had killed his girlfriend and tried to cover up that fact. And then come back to Florida and killed himself in an area where his body would not be found until quite a while later. So this was actually the first time that the authorities had actually blamed him for killing Gabby Petito on, blamed him for that. Even though he'd been the prime suspect all along, obviously, but like I said, it's one of those things where just because you think somebody did it, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can arrest them for it, or you can conclusively, think that they did it. You need evidence. So the fact that they found evidence in the fact that he tried to cover up the fact of the death because of the text messages, they are now pretty much convinced that Brian Laundrie killed his girlfriend while they were on the trip, probably when they had a fight, tried to cover up the fact, came back to Florida, and then tried to make it look like she was still alive by looking like he texted her, but then he couldn't take it, and then he killed himself in a place that they wouldn't find him for a little while. But they did find his body. They determined that he killed himself, and they found all the text messages. So that case is pretty much closed. They know that he fucking did that shit. So now let's talk about a couple of murder cases. Now, let me see. Let me have a drink first. You doing all right, Tom?
Yeah. Thought you wanted to know him, but I just feel.
You have anything to say, or?
No, I got nothing to say.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah, good.
Strawdog78 says, I would pay for a Richard Bachman Long Walk or Rage-themed shirt.
I don't know who that is.
Huh. No, it's Stephen
Richard
King's.
Bachman, that's Stephen King.
Stephen King's, yeah. Those are the two of the stories that he wrote, the novellas that he wrote in the Bachman books. I'm going to write that down. I'll think of something. Or Rage. I kind of feel like a lot of people don't... The thing about Rage is that that's kind of about a school shooter.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit kind of controversial, I guess. I saw this video that came up in my suggestions earlier today that was called The Stephen King Story Nobody Wants You to Read.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, well, you can still read it, though. Like, let's not get excited. I mean, I have a book that still has it in it, and you can find it all over YouTube, and it's not like nobody wants you to read. You can read it. It's fine. But, yeah. I get why, because like I said, it's about a school shooter, but nobody's stopping you from reading it. It's cool. All right, so let's talk about this case. Now, this was I know that we talked about this case in some context. I did a search on our channel, and I couldn't find the names, and I couldn't find the names in my Faceless Villain book either. But I feel like we talked about this. Okay, so I feel like what happened with this, we probably talked about this in... Because you know how when we did the show about the Zodiac, and when they were looking into possible suspects for the Zodiac case, they were looking into other people that did Lover's Lane style murders, because it was a surprisingly, not common, but not uncommon kind of MO, like where you just go up and like kill people in like fucking Lover's Lanes and cars and shit. So they were looking into this dude named Edward W. Edwards, who many people think is a serial killer. Like, look him up. I think we talked about him a few times. And I think that maybe we were talking about him and in the context of his possible crimes, because he did do some Lover's Lane type crimes. They were talking about him as a suspect for this crime. So because I recognize these names. So I think we probably talked about this before, but this murder, double murder, has been solved. And it was solved very, very recently with DNA. So this is the murder of Lloyd Bogle and Patricia Kalitzke. This might be, because it's more than 65 years old, so this might be the oldest cold case that has been solved so far. Not really sure about that, but it could be. It's very old. So what ended up happening? This happened back, like I said, in fucking 1956. 1956, this happened. The evening of January 2nd, 1956, there was Patty Kalitzke, who was a junior at Great Falls High School in Montana, and Lloyd Bogle, her boyfriend, who was an airman. And they went to a place near Great Falls along the Sun River. The next day, I guess they went there to, lay on the riverbank, make out, whatever. It was 1956. The next day, they found 3 kids that were walking on the beach, found Lloyd Bogle's dead body, gunshot wound to the head, face down next to his car. The day after that, a road worker found a body, and that turned out to be Patty Kalitzke. 5 miles away from where the car was, she had been shot in the head also, but had been raped. So starting in 2012, like I said, this was a very, very old cold case. And I think that it was maybe, when we talked about Edward W. Edwards, one of the proposed serial killers that may have been the Zodiac, because he did some Lover's Lane style murders. So I kind of feel like this was how that was the context that we brought this up in. So starting in 2012, they were doing like a cold case investigation of this. So they started doing DNA testing, because they did find semen inside Patty Kalitzke's body. Look at Pookie. Yeah, Pookie's on the show.
She's acting crazy. You acting crazy. Why you acting crazy?
Why are you being crazy? She's like, what? I'm not crazy. You called me fat earlier. I'm out.
Yeah, she's mad. Mad because I called you fat. You're getting fat. Gotta put your ass on a diet.
She's like,
she doesn't care. She just rolled around like, fat belly. She's not that fat. You just get.
She's not fat.
She's not that.
She's fluffy.
She eats whenever she wants to. I'm feeding you too much.
She's fluffy.
She begs, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'll give you some.
Well, I mean, she's so cute,
like, please.
and then it's not just food. It's like whenever, like, she wants to be. BRUSHED.
Yeah, she wants to be brushed all.
I can't say that word out loud because like she knows what that word means, and she'll jump over there and be like,
yeah, she wants you to hit her with her brush. Yeah,
she's
funny.
Yeah,
And it's like she's a human child. She really does. It's fucking hilarious.
Well, we kind of treat her like a human child, so we have
only
ourselves.
But she forced us to do that.
We have only ourselves to blame.
She forced us.
She is spoiled rotten.
Yeah,
she's spoiled rotten.
She's and she will not take no for an answer.
Oh, she absolutely will.
She'll start smacking on the fucking. She'll start smacking on the.
She's like, if you don't do it all, I'm gonna break your shit. I'm gonna break your shit.
And you're like, no. I'll tell her no about 10 times, and she'll like, no, let me in. I'm like, okay. So she does get her way.
Yeah.
And I'll let her into the closet, and she goes, oh, there's nothing in here. I'm like, yeah, there's nothing in there. Then she'll walk
well, what she does with the BRUSH is that she'll jump up on the sink.
Yeah.
And then she'll start yelling. And then I'm like, man, I don't have time for this right now. And I'll kind of look at her like, I don't have time for this. And then she starts like deliberately like, pushing shit like off the fucking... Yeah. She's like, I'm going to break all your stuff and tear it all up if you don't do what I want like right now.
Yeah.
But
Scott says she's big boned. Yeah, that's what it is. she's just big boned.
Oh. Yeah.
Some females can carry weight.
Don't pick on Pook.
Other females can't carry weight. It all depends on how it's...
Pook is a Manx. And
they're
Manx,
all like that.
Manx kitties are... Their build is short and stubby and round.
Round, yeah. She's the same cat that gorilla called All Ball.
Yeah.
What was that gorilla's name?
Coco.
She called it All Ball. And if you look at her, you go, yeah, it is all round.
Yeah.
The body's round, the head's round.
Yeah, because if you know, you guys know the famous gorilla that could that did sign language.
Yeah.
Coco. Yeah. And she had a pet kitten.
It was one of those.
Sadly, the kitten got run over by a car. Let's not talk about that. But the kitten, the gorilla named it All Ball because it was a Manx, and Manx cats like Pookie. Are very round. They have little round heads,
round body,
little round bodies, and they have very, very short legs in relation to their bodies. Yeah. And their front legs are shorter than their back legs.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have called like the way they move is like a bunny hop.
Yeah.
Because they have longer back legs and short legs, and she does have very short legs in relation to like the rest
so the gorilla called it.
Yeah.
Everything's round. All ball. It's all a round ball. That's right.
I call her that sometimes, but then I feel bad because the original All Ball got run over. Right. So I was like, I don't want to jinx it. You know what I mean? So there's that. But that's really weird how perceptive that gorilla was.
Yeah. She was just calling it the way it looked.
Yeah.
It's superficial.
Just like round. It's all round.
It's all round.
It's all round.
Yeah.
I mean, she's not round, but
no, I see it.
You can see what
she's. I'm an artist. It's round.
Yeah.
Everything's round.
And like I said,
would start off by fucking drawing a series of fucking round spheres.
And her little legs are like really short.
Right.
And if you see her like running, like is she listening? She's not listening. If you watch her run, it's like kind of hilarious because it's like she has this little run like, and like her little belly like swings back and forth, and like I call her like the gunslinger, because she has like her little short legs are like. Like that.
Yeah. No need for me to say
it's so funny.
No need for me to saying it's on me. I need to ease up because I'm the one that's feeding her too much. Yeah, I know. She begs.
And you can't resist her. She's too cute.
You got to see it. The begging routine.
She comes in the bedroom.
She knows how to do it.
Like, because I'm in the office until like 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And then like I take a shower, go in the room, and then we go in the room and like watch a movie. And as soon as we're both in the bedroom, Pookie knows that that's meat stick time.
Yeah.
So she comes doing her little run that she does into the bedroom, and she runs over to the nightstand because she knows that's where the meat sticks are, in the drawer. And then she goes there and she sits and stares with her big eyes. She stares at Daddy. Yeah. Stares and stares. If you don't pay attention... She jumps up on the nightstand and starts pushing shit off.
Yeah, she'll pull shit off the nightstand. She'll throw shit down on the ground. She's like, if you have a drink up there, she'll push it. It's like if you have his, earbuds, she'll push that off. She'll stand
anything,
up.
she's
She'll
like,
stand up on her back legs and grab the bottom of a coffee cup and start backing up and pulling it off. It's fucking funny.
She's like, pay attention.
Yeah, look, we can't talk about this. We got to finish the show.
I'm just saying.
Good.
I just have 2 more short cases.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then we can talk about cats if you want to. But yeah,
I'm going to make something to eat when the show's up.
Okay. So, yeah. So I was talking about, Lover's Lane murders. So this is a case that I feel like we've brought up before because these names are very familiar. So, yeah. So, like I said, they found the kid, 1956, shot in the head next to his car. They found his girlfriend the next day, also shot in the head, but had been raped. 2012, they have the cold case people looking into the shit. So they went to do DNA because, like I said, they found a whole DNA profile because Patricia Kalitzke had been raped. So they had semen so they could do a whole DNA workup. Now, for a long time, they thought maybe one of the suspects was Whitey Bulger, the famous gangster.
I ran into him.
Did you?
Yes, I did. When I was living in Boston.
When was that?
I told the story already.
I don't remember that, though.
I lived in fucking, in Somerville. There's an apartment up there in Winter Hill. And right across the street from fucking the apartment was a little candy shop that was never open. And one day I was coming back from the goth club and saw fucking 5 or 6 guys fucking spread out, fucking guarding all the fucking streets to coming and going to this damn candy shop. And they were hauling all these filing cabinets out of that fucking candy shop in the middle of the night, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and putting it in a damn van. And that was Whitey Bulger and his fucking dudes. That was the Winter Hill gang.
Well, they thought that he was
and fucking
maybe...
I saw that dude and his fucking friends, and they were fucking looking at me fucking grinning. I was like, I was out of the army by then. I was just, man, this is a security job here. Well, who the fuck are these dudes? And fucking walked up on the outer sentry, and he's sitting there fucking grinning at me like, how you doing, man? You better fucking watch your P's and Q's. And I was just going to my apartment. That was them, though. That was them. I don't think I saw Whitey, but it was his dudes.
He died recently, did he not?
Yeah.
He's also a suspect, and I don't know
Yeah.
if this is... He's also a suspect in the very famous Lady of the Dunes case.
They said he might have been involved in fucking white slavery.
Well, he had been
Selling
arrested for rape in this time period, 1951. So that's why they thought that he was a suspect in this particular case, because he was, thought to have raped a girl in this area, in this time period. They thought that he was in this area at this period. And like I mentioned earlier, one of the people that was brought up a lot of times as a suspect for this, which I think we also did as well, was Edward W. Edwards, because he was kind of a guy, like I said, he's a dude that's brought up a lot in conversations about the Zodiac, because he was a guy that is thought to be involved with a lot of Lover's Lane style murders. So he was a suspect as well. But I have to say, they did some DNA shit for this case. And they determined that the person that was responsible for this was a dude that was named, hold on, I had it just now, was a dude named, where is it? Something Gould. Mr. Gould. I can't find it now. I lost my place in the fucking notes. Great. Yeah. It was a guy named Gould. That was his last name. So it wasn't Edward Edwards. It wasn't Whitey Bulger. It wasn't anybody like that. 2019, they actually linked the DNA to this dude named Gould, and they found out that what happened, this dude had actually died in 2007, and they had cremated his body, but they actually got DNA from his kids, and that was what caused the match. Now, what they found out, this wasn't a serial killer, it wasn't anything like that, which, like I said, just goes to show you can't trust anybody. This dude that they found the DNA inside of the murder victim, he lived about a mile away from Patty, the female victim. And he lived and worked like just a couple blocks away from her. The weird thing about it though was that he didn't have any criminal history prior to that, and he didn't have any criminal history after that. That doesn't mean he didn't do anything. That just means he didn't get caught. So, weird thing about it though was that about a month after, this was in 1956, month after after that crime happened, he suddenly like moved. And then he like moved his family somewhere else. He had a family and kids and everything. And as far as I know, like, I don't know if he didn't do it again or if he just didn't get caught again. But his DNA was found on the murder victim. So he did that shit. And apparently he got away with it because he's dead. He died before they figured out who the fuck that was. But they found out who it was, and it wasn't a serial killer, it wasn't anything. Or it wasn't a serial killer we know about. Maybe he was a serial killer, and we just don't know about it. But they found out who did it, and that's... I wish I could remember where we talked about that case. I kind of feel like we talked about that... I feel like we talked about that on the Zodiac show, because we were talking about Edward Edwards.
Yeah.
And he had done a lot of... He was a suspect in a lot of other Lover's Lane style murders, which is what this was. And I think I brought it up on this one because I knew the names like when I saw it. Now let me talk about this last case. This is an unsolved murder, and I talked about this case. I wrote about this case in my Faceless Villain Volume 2. So this is actually one case that I wrote about in that book that has been solved. They found the person that did it. Like after I wrote the book.
Okay, look, I found the fucking photo of where I was talking about. All right. See that apartment right there? That's where I used to live. I used to live in that third floor right there. Where I was talking about where I saw Whitey Bulger was right here. I'm going to try to... There was a candy store right here. I'm going to show it to you. I found it. That's at Broadway and fucking Cedar. I forgot what it was. I'm going to try to go over there.
I'm laughing at like No Need For Me Too says, no, you didn't just check to see if she was listening.
Who?
Pookie.
Oh. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
But I do, though, because...
Yeah.
She understands words.
Yeah.
I have to spell them.
Yeah.
I have to spell them. Because if I say a word, she's like...
It's called Broadway and Main.
She's being cool, though.
Broadway and Main Street in Medford. That's okay. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you guys where that was. I'm going to show you where Whitey Bulger's fucking building was. Okay. That's the apartment building I used to live in. Across the street from this is where they were unloading those. See if I can try to find... Hold on, I gotta look at it. Where is that bitch?
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, it's torn down. It's torn down.
I mean...
It's torn down. Okay, it's not there anymore. What's there now is just more apartment buildings. That didn't used to be there. There used to be a shop there. Okay.
I mean, Whitey Bulger just died, like, fairly recently.
Yeah.
And I feel like he was, I don't know if he killed all these people, but because he was in an area at the time and he was known to be, like, kind of like a rapist and probably a murderer. So if he was in an area when, like, some unsolved murders happened, then obviously he was going to be a suspect.
They tore down his little fucking fake candy shop.
You fucked up my lighting.
They tore down his little fake candy shop. Now they got a liquor store there that used to be a police supply place. And then next to it used to be a Brazilian restaurant. It was fucking great. But looking at this place kind of fucking brings me back. I lived in there for 3 years. In that apartment. Back in the 90s. Man, fucking, they changed it a bit. Takes me back.
Well, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I'm just saying, well, look into the lady...
It was called 391 Broadway. That was the name of that building. That was my old apartment right there. Shit. This one right there, 3rd floor. That 3rd floor right there. That's where my finger is. That's where I used to live there. That was my fucking little gothic fucking pad, man. Yeah. And that's where the...
You fucked up my lighting again.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah. It used to be a
No,
prison.
it's still fucked up.
Yeah. So they tore Whitey Bulger's place down. It was across the street from that. Winter Hill.
Well, like I said, I feel like he's,
Yeah.
you know, he was one of the ones that's brought up a lot. Like I said,
Yeah.
Lady of the Dunes case, if you know anything about that, unidentified body.
It's gentrified now. I'm looking at it, man, but it was a
lot
little
of
bit of the
things
ghetto back in the time when I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this particular case that Whitey Bulger was a suspect in, not him. They found some DNA and it was just like a dude that knew the girl. So seems like a stalker type of situation. So let's talk about, for the last case. This is a case that I talked about because I knew this name when I was like, I did like a Google search of cold cases that were solved in 2020 or 2021. And then I was looking for names that looked familiar, that I'd written about in my book or like that we'd done on the show. And this name came up because I had written about it in Faceless Villain Volume 2. And this is the case of Maureen Brubaker Farley. And this was solved very recently. Unsolved murder case. So let's go back. This happened in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. What have I said about Iowa? So many like unsolved murders in Iowa. I don't know if it's because they have more unsolved murders than normal, or just because they have better record keeping than normal. It might be the second thing. But I did find a lot of unsolved murders. And there are a lot of like good online resources of unsolved murders in Iowa. So maybe all states don't have that. So October of 2021. So this is fairly recent. Police in Cedar Rapids, Iowa announced that they had closed this unsolved murder case, which, like I said, I wrote about in my Faceless Villain Volume 2. This case is 50 years old. It happened in 1971, before I was even born. Now, what happened? Maureen Brubaker Farley was 17 years old. They found her body September 24th, 1971, in a ravine in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. She had last been seen alive on the morning of September 17th. Now, what ended up happening? Okay, so she didn't show up for work. She worked at a diner. And she didn't show up, and her boss reported her missing. A week later, 2 little boys found her body laying on the trunk of an abandoned car, like in a like kind of ravine, like at the edge of a bridge, like almost like somebody had tossed her off the bridge, but not really, because her body wasn't fucked up. It looked like somebody had like just laid it there on the trunk of a car. So yeah, she was partially clothed. She didn't have any shoes on, but her feet were clean. So they were like, well, obviously she was left here. Like, she was carried here. She didn't walk here because her feet would be dirty otherwise. They determined that her cause of death was a skull fracture. Somebody had, like, beaten her in the head with a blunt object. Also, she had been raped, so there was that. And police at the time, even in 1971, figured out that she had been carried there and left on the trunk of this particular car. Now, even at the time, back in the 70s, one of the suspects was a dude named George Smith. He wasn't a friend of hers, but he was an acquaintance. He was a dude that, like, hung out at the diner that she worked at. And some people said that he was kind of a weirdo, so that, like, everybody had to, like, look into that. He also, supposedly, he worked at a hauling service, and so he drove a truck. He also kind of like worked part-time at a liquor store, which was near where she lived. So it could have been a stalking situation where he was like watching her all the time. He had been interviewed back in 1971, but they couldn't find enough evidence to charge him with anything. So they kind of had to let him go. They asked him to do a polygraph. He would not. But that's not illegal. So there you go. Now, during the autopsy, they did actually do like a swab of her body. And like I said, this is 1971, so they couldn't really do anything much at the time. But they did save the evidence from her. You know, they did like a semen thing. And they did a whole DNA breakdown of that later. Like the cold case people did. And they determined that this person, George Smith, who is a person that worked in this liquor store, lived right around her, he was the one that had raped her and probably killed her, because his DNA was a complete match. Unfortunately, by the time they figured that out, he was already dead. So they couldn't really do much about it. Honestly, they the only thing that's good is that they did the DNA and they said, okay, well, that's the guy that did it. He's dead now. What are you going to do? Her mom was still alive. She was 86. So they were able to go to her mom and say, hey, we found the person that raped and murdered your daughter. This is him. He's already dead. We can't do anything about it. Her dad had died in 2002. So, sadly. But at least her mom got some closure on it. I don't know. It seems like very, very, like, cold comfort. But at least that. 2019, interestingly, they had also they solved another cold case through DNA. There was another, I don't think I read about this one, but there was another woman called Michelle Martinko, and she was actually, in 1979, she was found dead, like stabbed to death, and they actually used DNA to, like, solve her case, too. And they found the guy that did it, who was named Jerry Burns. But, so, DNA, now they're solving, like, a lot of stuff from back in the old days. And, like, I'm here for it. I don't know, though. It's kind of, as I said, it's kind of cold comfort. Because after all this time, I don't know. I kind of feel, I don't know. I don't have a family member that was murdered or is missing or anything like that. Like, maybe that would be some comfort to you. It's like, at least we found the person that did it. Even if they're dead now, even if we can't punish them, it's just kind of like, at least you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about it.
I'm sitting there looking at Pookie. Look at Pookie. She's in a pile of toys, looking happy as shit. She's just sitting there. It's fucking ridiculous.
No need for me to is like laughing at me and like checking with her about stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah, look at her. It's fucking funny. So, is that it?
yeah.
All right.
I mean, but like I said, she's not dumb. And she knows certain words.
Yeah, she knows what we're talking
So we have to spell them.
You're right.
We have to spell them. Because
And
if
she's
you
like,
say
"What?"
them out loud, she's like,
What?
and then
Yeah.
she's like, she wants to get,
Yeah, she's getting ready to fall asleep.
So
All
I
right,
have to-
so why don't we go ahead and check out now, and I'll go get us something to eat.
Okay.
Sound good? How long has the show been going?
3 hours and 53 minutes.
That's about right. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. I had a
hopefully you
good
enjoyed
time.
the show.
I had a good
We
time.
got some super chats.
I got through all the stuff.
Yeah.
Hopefully it wasn't too incoherent.
We'll see you guys tomorrow. No, not tomorrow.
Friday.
After Friday. Yeah.
Friday,
Yeah,
we're going to
Friday.
do the sidetrack show.
Yeah.
Are we going to move that to 6 as well?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Okay.
So, all right. So come back Friday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a sidetrack show. And that'll be fun. But thank everybody for coming by this evening. Thank you for super chats. If you gave some, what are you laughing at?
I was laughing at you.
Why are you laughing at me?
That's all right. Shut it down, Jenny. Go ahead and shut it down.
Why don't you shut it down? Since you're laughing at me.
Thank you guys for showing up, and we'll see you guys Friday.
Friday evening.
Friday night. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.